Well, Tiffany, we told everyone this morning on Daybreak about this change this year, this election day in Dallas County, requiring voters to go to a specific voting location. Well, we are already seeing the confusion this morning, including here at Fretz Park. We were talking to some voters as they were leaving here in the parking lot. Many told us they showed up here because it's where they always vote, only to be told they had to go to another location. I spoke with the election judge here. He told me there's been plenty of confusion because of this new change and that it was not in effect for early voting. It's in effect only today on Election Day. Now, complicating things further, two voters can live in the same precinct yet have different voting locations depending if they're voting in the Democrat or Republican primary. At Fretz Park, it's the location for only two precincts in the Democratic primary, but 5 in the Republican primary. So easy to understand why voters are confused and frustrated.
Well, this is the place I voted for the last 3 elections, and I get here and they tell me I have to go someplace else. And this happens every election. They have some craziness when you get here. I think this is on purpose and it's designed to make us not vote, and this should stop.
And that's something the election officials worry about. They worry that people are coming here, getting frustrated and saying, you know what, I'm just not going to vote. And that's what they do not want. So they want you to go to the correct location for these Dallas County voters. You can go to dallascountyvotes.org. Double and triple check your voting location before you head to the polls. So a lot of confusion this morning in Dallas County. I'm going to send it out.
Now, let me ask y'all a question. Have y'all ever known anybody to hide, to amplify suspicion, to move in secrecy, to cover up them not cheating? Have you ever known anybody to do that? We all was kids once upon a time. You ever hide a report card and you made the honor roll? Anybody ever did that? Anybody ever hit A's? Has anybody ever hit A's? Anybody ever, you ever sneak out the house? You ever take a call late at night and sneak out the house to go meet your friends and play shuffleboard? I mean, you know what I mean? At a hotel, you ever go to a hotel late at night to go meet your friends and play shuffleboard and stop answering your phone? Huh? You know, I'm like, this is the reason why the very first segment that I made on this channel is called Street Politics. Because common sense, man. Common sense. Common sense. How do you want me to react? How do you want me to react? How should I receive this information? And moreover, have you ever known, because, you know, it's a lot of sports fans follow the channel. I was a sports fan. You know, I got my jersey in the back. Shout out to Dirk. Have you ever known a team to challenge the results of a game that they won? Have you ever known that? Has the winning team ever challenged the results? You ever see a pitcher get strike 3 and then start arguing with the umpire? He ever call ball 4 and before the batter can walk to first base, he gets himself ejected going at it with the umpire. How have we allowed, as a country, how have we allowed this party to simultaneously argue the will of the American people to the point of saying they have a mandate? Now, I ain't heard that word in a long time. They must have lost custody of the M Encyclopedia Britannica. They lost that one. I ain't heard mandate in 6 months. I don't know what happened to mandate. But y'all remember they used to argue they had a mandate and they had the will of the American people while simultaneously engaging in massive voter suppression and voter intimidation. You know what I mean? Why? And by the way, I have a video coming out all about the news media and how much the news media has failed us. And we are seeing it disgustingly when it comes to Iran. But a great number of things we've seen the news media completely fail us and let us down. But the fact that the news media doesn't make that point number one when they discuss these elections is wild. It's wild. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy that they're not made to answer for these things. While he's sitting up there talking about the only way they can win is to cheat and this, that. He's been running around saying that for 6 years. All while this is happening. And don't nobody say nothing. Not a word. Not a word. And by the way, should I get my jersey in order right here? It's leaning right now. It's leaning like the Dirk Fallaway. It's leaning, my jersey leaning like the Dirk Fallaway. And you know what? I'm starting a little bit hot because I don't know how much of this I'm gonna be able to get in once the coverage starts. So let me make sure the coverage ain't start. Yeah, I don't know how much I'm gonna be able to get in once the coverage starts. So I'm getting it off now. I'm getting it off now. And by the way, we letting them fight. We letting them fight in March. Check out thepeoplesgetup.com. We letting them fight in March. I got my mug and everything. We letting them fight in March. And let me I'm glad I put pants on. I gotta figure out a way to back up to the jersey without showing y'all the. I ain't showing you the. The seams parted. I ain't. Hold up. There we go. All right. It's still leaning a little bit, but you know, we can't have everything perfect. We can't have everything perfect. And matter of fact, let me get this out of the way. Okay. There we go. We all good now. Now all of this happened. All that you are seeing today happened after we saw a record number of early votes. Okay, we saw a record number of early votes in the Texas primary, and to the point where people were building narratives about flipping the state. It's against that backdrop that Texas adopts new rules for election day, for primary election day. Now, I would have to ask, again, to my point about common sense, street politics, I would have to ask, what would be the reason to adopt new rules on election day? Can you think of a good reason to adopt new rules on election day? You know what we're going to do? We're going to put in a whole new offense. We're going to revamp this whole offense, and we're going to put in a whole new offense. No, we're not going to practice. No, I'm going to put it in. I'm going to put it in when we do the huddle before the next game. I'm going to put it in. Okay? Right when we get together, like that little 30 seconds after you hear after they do the and before we hit the floor, that's what I'm gonna put in the offense. And then y'all do what y'all do. That makes sense, right? That makes sense to put in new rules on game day. And to the point of the comment that Big Rick just made, repeatedly, because I like to always make sure I like to make the point wherever I can that there's two sides to everything. So as much as you can't simultaneously engage in this amount of election interference and argue that you have the will of the people, I also will not simultaneously fear the will of the people as you engage in this amount of election interference. You can't press me when this is what you have to do to win a Senate election in Texas. In Texas. And ain't California. This ain't New York. This ain't Maryland. This ain't even Virginia or New Jersey. This ain't even Florida. We talking about Texas. We talking about Texas. Okay? Not Louisiana. Not South Carolina. Not South Carolina that my family has lived and died for, play every game like it's their last. Not South Carolina. We talking about Texas. Texas? Texas. We talking about Texas. Oh, that was fun. Shout out to Allen Iverson. Shout out to Allen Iverson. Who caught that? Shondaland, thank you very much for your gifts. I appreciate you. Thank you, Shondaland. Peachy King, thank you very much, Peachy King. Peachy King got her ranch. She doing double duty up in here. She modding with one hand and making it rain with the other. I see you, Peachy King. Thank you. Nesbit, wow, look how long I've been. 16 months. 16 months might be, yeah, you gotta, it can't be much longer than 16 months that I've had membership. So I think I launched it in September. Of 24. So I don't think anybody can beat that, Nesbit. Shout out to you. I appreciate you. Now, as much as actually, let me check and make sure that no, ain't nothing happening. Typically when we've done the watches, I think typically we watch CNN. I think. But I can't see. I don't see a CNN stream, so it might have to be NBC News. But I'm fine with that. So y'all let me know. What y'all want to watch. There's also C-SPAN. C-SPAN, C-SPAN, I love you, C-SPAN. I do. I love you. You are one of the last bastions of bipartisanship in our media. I love the work that you do, C-SPAN. You have been a solid reference for a lot of my content. I love you, C-SPAN. Your coverage looks dusty. It does. It does. Your coverage look dusty, C-SPAN. It look dusty. It does. It looks dusty. It does. It like if you had a friend and they opened up a boutique and they say, why don't you come by? And you go because that friend has just always been by your side. You know what I mean? That friend has been 10 toes down with you, and you go because you want to support, your friend's store, and everything is just dusty. I mean, it's just you you yeah. And she like, hey, why don't you tell some people to come by? And you like, all right. And you fake call, hey, come by the store. You're like, I'm not gonna have my reputation ruined. Have y'all come in here? So y'all say MS Now. All right, let me check out MS Now. Dun, 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 dun. I don't see an MS Now stream unless they're doing it on a different account. I don't see an MS Now stream. I see a stream that they have coming up tomorrow, breaking down what happened, but I don't see an MS Now stream. All right, we'll rock with NBC for now. We'll do that. Lakia, thank you so much for your gift, Lakia. Thank you so much. If you received Lakia's gift, send her some love in the chat. Catch my whip. Attention, Dallas County, Texas. A judge orders that polls are open until 9 p.m. tonight. If you're in line by 9, you will be able to vote, but please check to see where your correct polling location is. Thank you, Catch My Whip. I appreciate you making sure that the people are in the know. To your point that you just made, I saw this comment from Jasmine Crockett, or rather, this is just a comment on what happened. The Dallas County Republicans and Williamson County GOP chose to implement precinct-specific voting locations for Election Day. Under state law, this forced the local Democratic parties to follow suit against our will. Both Dallas and Williamson County voters have grown accustomed to countrywide voting, including on Election Day. This effort to suppress the vote, to confuse and inconvenience voters, is having its intended effect as people are being turned away from the polls. We are monitoring the situation and working with our local county party to explore all solutions, including an extension of Election Day voting hours. This is from Jasmine Crockett. I'm asking all voters in Dallas and Williamson counties to check their county's election website or their voter registration card to identify the correct polling location for today. Do not give up and do not give in. The only way we can put an end to these maneuvers is by outvoting the Republicans and kicking them out of office. I'm calling on you to go out and cast your ballots so they know Texans don't appreciate having their votes suppressed, and we won't take it lying down. That was from Jasmine Crockett. Now, to the point about Texans not appreciating their votes being suppressed, aren't Texans always the ones talking about don't mess with Texas, everything bigger in Texas? And ain't they the ones always talking about don't mess with Texas? And they've been sitting here tolerating all this going on for multiple election cycles now? That's wild. You know what I mean? They treating Texas voting rights like Joe Gibbs used to treat y'all back in the day. He treating y'all like Joe Gibbs. Exactly how Joe Gibbs treated y'all. That's how y'all being treated, and y'all just sit back and take it. Don't give me that. Don't mess with Texas, because they've been messing with Texas for a number of voting cycles, and y'all ain't done that. Y'all sat there and let this happen on election day. Not to mention, your favorite on the Republican side of the aisle. You think Kim Paxton's ex-wife gonna make it to the you think she gonna make it to the election party? You think she how you think he was able to collect enough twos and fews to get her to come on through? I see he got his daughter to shoot some stuff for him. I see that. You know, because she's not gonna have to work that out in therapy at all. So I hope that was worth it. By the way, shout out to all the mods here. Lovely Nola, Miss Ray, Deshauna, Peachy King. Shout out to y'all. Shout out to everybody over on Facebook as well. Shout out to y'all. Much appreciated. Okay, RSLS Reese MS Now is on with Rachel Maddow. Okay, let me check again. MS Now. On YouTube. I'm like, I don't see. Are they hiding it from their own page? Like I don't see nothing. So here I can look up Rachel Maddow and see. Yeah, I ain't got it. I ain't got it. Is that on the app? Is that like app only? Are they streaming app only? Is that what it is? Because that's looking tight. What I can do, I can pull up. I can be ready for when the NBC starts. So I'll catch that. Oh, let me catch that for when that gets ready. Welcome to Betty, by the way. If I haven't welcomed Betty, shout out to you. I appreciate you for being here. Thank you very much. It is interesting. It will be interesting to see how the initial I do see AP. Yeah, I do see AP, Adrian. I know that's a possibility. Kornacki is on NBC News now. That's the one I got. It will be interesting to see what the initial numbers look like, given this polling situation. I'll be very intrigued by that. Let's see, Kornacki cam. Okay, we got a Kornacki cam.
There's a lot that we can do, and we should be focusing on that right now, because this is not a situation that's going to end tomorrow, and it's not one that's going to end a week from now. This is ongoing. We're in it now. We're completely.
Hey, y'all live or y'all not? Y'all live or y'all not? What's happening? Maybe I'll just go to the Kornacki cam. I might just do that.
Tonight, with the U.S. at war, the battle for control of Congress begins to take shape.
We are very bullish about the midterms. I'm absolutely convinced we're going to grow the majority.
It's happening. Democrats are going to take back control of the House.
Deep in the heart of Texas, Democrats must choose between two rising stars with competing visions for the future of the party.
Trump, I know you're watching, so let me tell you directly, you're not entitled to a damn thing in Texas.
The real fight in this country is not left versus right. It's top versus bottom.
A sitting Republican senator facing a Lone Star loyalty test.
I won by 10 points in 2020, and I can do that again and help President Trump.
He talks about how he's pro-Trump. We all know that's false.
And a congressman facing voters embroiled in scandal.
I'm not going to resign. I work every day for the people of Texas.
Plus, key races in North Carolina and Arkansas as both parties set a course for the midterms.
Who's going to win the midterm? That's Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Brutal.
NBC's midterm primary night special begins right now.
And Gonzalez, don't think because I ain't hit you yet means I won't. We gonna holler.
Welcome to NBC's special coverage of the official kickoff of the 2026 midterms and what has become a split-screen night as we follow two major breaking news stories. I am Kristen Welker.
And I'm Hallie Jackson. And tonight it is a primary night that's going to have huge implications on the November election. But we are also obviously watching what's happening in the Middle East right now with the U.S. ramping up strikes against Iran. Some Americans are essentially stuck there. They cannot get out of the region. There's questions over gas and oil prices with all of this uncertainty now.
Yeah, that's right. And this volatile situation in the Mideast could have real impact on the midterms. President Trump, of course, won re-election in part on a platform of opposition to regime change and new foreign wars. If the president's base stays home in November, that could spell trouble for Republicans.
And listen, what's at stake tonight? It is big, right? What's at stake in November is even bigger. Control of the House, maybe the Senate up for grabs. So tonight's contests are going to set the stage for some of the most important races that we are going to be watching in the fall. And they may also
I might
give us
go
some
to
early
Kornacki
clues
camp.
now
They
about things like
doing
turnout,
too much.
which parties voters
I might
are
go to
feeling energized.
Let me know in the chat if y'all want to go to Kornacki camp because they
now
doing
remember,
too much.
Democrats need to gain just
I don't wanna
3
hear all
House
this.
seats in the fall to take back control of the House. To retake the Senate, they need to hold all 13 of their seats that are on the ballot and flip 4 more. Now, putting that into context, that's a real long shot. But what happens tonight in Texas and North Carolina will be critical to whether they can make that long shot a reality.
So let's get to the countdown. That next poll is closing 8:30 Eastern in North Carolina. This is actually a little later than we expected in North Carolina because of a technical issue at a polling site. Texas, 9, but really 10 o'clock Eastern for the entire state. Also in that state, later than expected because of some confusion around Dallas. We'll get to that because guess what? We'll get to everything. Look at this. We've got cameras basically posted up everywhere across Texas, across North Carolina. Our team's on the ground there in Texas. We've got Steve Kornacki at the big board. I'm not going to lie. He's right here. His camera's not on him yet. I promise you, Steve Kornacki is there. He's going to be joining us momentarily because we've got all of it covered tonight from Texas to North Carolina, even Arkansas, along with our chief Capitol Hill correspondent, Ryan Nobles, and our senior White House correspondent, Garrett Haight, too.
That's right, and it's now just a few moments after 8 p.m. on the East Coast, and we are watching key Senate primaries in both states. In North Carolina, former Democratic Governor Roy Cooper is key to the Democrats' hopes in flipping that Senate seat this fall. Right now, that race too early to call.
On the Republican side, everybody's watching to see what
That's
happens
what the
with
Republicans
former
look
RNC
like.
Chairman Michael Whatley. He's got the president's endorsement. He's expected to be the favorite here. Question, Kristen, is going to be, of course, on the margin, on the
I don't
gap.
like
How
that
big,
photo.
if he wins, is the victory?
That's right. And in Texas, Congresswoman
Shout out to
Jasmine
Chapel
Crockett
Hill,
is facing
Severo.
off against State Representative James Tallarico as Democrats hope
I don't
this
like
year,
that photo of the
this year
Republicans
is
that
the
they
year
use.
they
That
can
looked like a
maybe
Black
turn
History photo.
Texas
I didn't
blue.
like that.
Republicans are thinking they want to keep it red, obviously, but that is going to be interesting depending on what happens in that state. You see the Crockett race, Tallarico. We see some count coming in again. Polls in Texas are not even close to being closed at this point. And then, of course, on the Republican side, we can show you here the incumbent, of course, Senator John Cornyn, facing a pretty tough challenge from the state attorney
Wesley
general
Hunt
Ken
off the
Paxton,
screen.
Congressman Wesley Hunt as well.
Prop
President Trump,
Wesley
Kristen, as
Hunt
you know,
off the screen.
hasn't endorsed in this one. He says he likes them all. That's an interesting point.
Well, he was just in Texas,
Yeah.
which is part of what makes that decision not to endorse so fascinating. We've also got a bunch of House primary races we're watching tonight with a number of incumbents fighting for their political lives, including the first major test for a Democratic House incumbent against a progressive challenger. That's in North Carolina's 4th district.
We want to get right now to our NBC News chief data analyst, Steve Kornacki, for a look at where we stand on these key races tonight.
I see them on. I can't hear you, Hallie and Kristen.
Go ahead. Take it away, Steve.
So I'm sorry about that. I could see you. Look, we just got our first returns here in the Senate race. We'll start on the Republican side. Key thing to keep in mind here, there's an issue there in Dallas County. I'm sure you guys will be talking about it here. The Democratic numbers in Dallas County, one of the biggest in the state, will not come out till 10 o'clock. They've kept the polls open for the Democrats, not for the Republicans. The parties run separate primaries. So you see John Cornyn here. What you're looking at here is the early vote. That's what's being reported out by these counties right now. All that vote that was cast weeks ahead of time, days ahead of time. These counties can count that up ahead of time and report it out all at once. This is half of all the vote that's going to come out of Dallas County, one of the biggest in the state. And you see there Cornyn with that lead over Paxton. Right next door in Tarrant County, this is where Fort Worth is. Again, this is the early vote. This is a very big piece of real estate. Cornyn leading that early vote by 9 points. North of Dallas here, this is all in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Denton County, you can see an advantage here. This is Ellis County, fast-growing south of Dallas here. I think the thing to keep in mind, two things to keep in mind on this Republican race is this area where the vote is coming from right now and where Cornyn is leading Paxton is probably going to be the best area in the state or one of the best areas in the state for John Cornyn tonight. In past primaries, Cornyn has run his best here in the Metroplex relative to the rest of the state. And in past primaries, specifically in 2022, when Paxton received the challenge from George P. Bush, Paxton lagged a bit here relative to the rest of the state. So I'd say right now, from the Cornyn standpoint, they need these counties to be coming in his shade of red here. And in fact, you do see a couple pink. Kaufman County, this is a fast-growing, sort of getting outside of a little bit outside of Dallas here. Paxton leading the early vote here. Get up into sort of Texoma area here. This is much smaller.
Paxton pink.
Paxton leading there, but
why Wesley Hunt got the darkest shade?
I think Cornyn wants to be running up the score here. There are other areas. The other area that's going to be strong, I think, tonight for Cornyn is going to be around Austin. So let's see as it fills in.
They might as well make Wesley Hunt black.
Right now, it's a decent start for him. Democratic side here. Let's take a look, though, at what we're getting in that race. Again, we don't have numbers from Dallas. We will not have numbers from Dallas County until 10 p.m. In the Democratic race. But we do have, in Tarrant County, Fort Worth, you have Crockett here leading in the early vote by 12 points. You have Denton. Again, this is a big one, the early vote. Now, you see, these are two different shades of blue here. This is James Tallarico leading here.
Let's go with
in the
different colors, man.
Again, what you want to keep in mind about this area is this is Crockett's backyard politically. Her political base is in Dallas. That is where her congressional seat is. All of the polling in this race going into this election had said that Crockett was winning and winning big with the black vote. There was a lot of sort of disagreement between the different polls out there. The one thing all the polls agreed on was that Crockett was winning big with the black vote. That means we won't know till 10 o'clock, but she needs a gigantic number out of Dallas County when that finally comes in. There's a significant black population, and it's her political base. She's also expected to do well in these other counties, like in Tarrant County. I think early on, she's getting the numbers she needs there. The question is going to become, this is the early vote, when we start seeing the vote that was cast today, how does that look? Is it also 56% Crockett, or is Tallarico doing a little bit better in that? That's going to be the second piece of this to come in. But we're getting big pieces of real estate starting to come in here. Everything you're looking at right now, keep in mind, though, is the early vote.
100%. Steve, you're teeing us up, I think, for a really important piece of the conversation.
I'm just waiting until they go to break, and I'm
really
going
just
to
the last maybe 45 minutes or so. Steve, stand by. I want to bring in our Priscilla Thompson, our Ryan Chandler, our team on the ground in Texas. Ryan's at the campaign headquarters, James Tallarico. Priscilla Thompson, let me start with you from Jasmine Crockett's headquarters in all important for her, Dallas, and this issue with some confusion around
why
polling
they send
sites,
her
right?
to
That has,
Crockett.
just to be clear here, that has
Why they do
delayed
that?
the closing of the polls for about an hour longer than what we had expected, right?
Yeah, Hallie, and we saw it today as we were out at the polls, people consistently being turned away or redirected because they were at the wrong polling site. And the state Democratic Party says that there were thousands of voters that happened to both here in Dallas County and also in Williamson County near Austin. And so what happened is that these, the county parties are who usually decides how these elections are going to run, and they typically do them at the county-wide level. So people can vote anywhere in the county on election day. But this year, Republicans decided that they would host their elections at the precinct level, and that meant Democrats had to do that as well. And so Jasmine Crockett is saying that this is voter suppression, that Republicans intended to sow confusion with that decision. I want to play some of what she had to say.
My heart is breaking. I've got people that are sending me emails. I have video recordings of voters that are crying and hurt. None of this should have happened. Let's talk about the many failures. Let's talk about what was intentional. Number one, the Republicans only did this to intentionally disenfranchise and confuse voters. So I am asking you, I am begging you to make sure that you go ahead and figure out where it is that you are supposed to vote, stand in line, wait in line, and if it means that I gotta come out there with you to wait with you, I will do that.
And she said this is the biggest thing that is making her nervous heading into the night. The state party estimates that there are about a third of the voters that they believe who were turned away. And so as you heard there, she's urging people to go online, figure out what their correct location is, and then get to that location and stay in line to make sure that they cast those votes.
And Priscilla, talk to us a little bit about the closing argument that you are hearing from Jasmine Crockett. She is trying to make the case she'll be able to drive out the African-American vote in a general election, that she can win, that she's a fighter. We've seen that in the House. What has she been telling voters to try to close this deal?
Yeah, that is her message, that she has the credentials and she has the backbone to get this done, that she is going to be that fighter for people. And I did speak to one voter today, a young black woman, 29 years old, and she said that she believes Crockett is going to speak for her in the Senate and fight for her in the Senate. And even though she was one of those people who was turned away today, she did go to that other location. She told me that she was going to go to that other location to make sure that her voice was heard. But of course, Crockett's name of the game here is running up the numbers. She did tell me that Dallas County, that if the early vote comes out and she sees those numbers looking very good in Dallas County, that she's going to feel very good heading into the night. But she also said, as Steve Kornacki mentioned, that she's looking at Tarrant County. That is the most populous purple district in this area, and also sort of in her backyard here. And I will tell you, this morning she was campaigning in Houston, so Harris County, the biggest Democratic county in the state. So really looking to drive those numbers up in those areas. And she believes that if she can get those turnout numbers where they need to be, that she will see victory tonight.
All right. Thank you so much, Priscilla Thompson. Ryan, let's go to you now. James Tallarico, he's, of course, trying to make the opposite case that he's the strongest candidate in a general election.
Yeah, that's right. I think the closing argument here at Tallarico headquarters is that he's the one that can win. Tallarico supporters that I've been talking to from Dallas to Houston, now in Austin, recognize that this is a big red state. And in order to win, you can't do it with Democrats alone. It is diametrically opposed to Representative Crockett's theory of the case. She thinks that if she can turn out dormant Democrats who haven't voted before, then they don't need Republicans. Tallarico's message is, if you're a Republican, if you're an independent, you are welcome in this party. I was talking to him yesterday at an event in Houston, and he told me that at least 5 Republicans who had never voted for a Democrat told him that they waited in line to take a picture with him, and he's the first Democrat that they're going to vote for. He feels confident that that crossover appeal is working, and it's a festive, optimistic atmosphere here at Tallarico HQ.
Can I ask you, Ryan, with this issue on the polling locations that we've talked about, that Priscilla laid out, that Steve laid out in and around Dallas, obviously a place that Crockett is hoping will be a stronghold for her. Are you hearing anything from the Tallarico campaign on that and how that might affect the rest of their night?
They're very concerned about it here as well. They are also calling for an extension of voting hours, both in Dallas County and in Williamson County. A couple things to consider here. This is happening in both of these candidates' strongholds. Of course, Crockett is leaning on Dallas County for a pot of voters. Williamson County is also Representative Tallarico's home county, where he grew his political career, where it began. He certainly has a lot of voters there, and they're facing similar issues. They're calling for an extension of votes, at least on the Democratic side of things, in both counties tonight because of that.
Ryan, Chandler, we're going to be closely watching all of that. Thank you. Our thanks to Priscilla, too. We're going to take you to the Republican headquarters in just a second, but I want to get to our the folks here at the table. Ryan, Garrett, obviously, huge night, hugely important for what's going to happen when it comes to the Senate map, the House map, et cetera. It's 8:14 Eastern. So I'm going to ask both of you, give us your viewers' playbook here. What's the next thing you're watching, the next shoe you're watching to drop here in the next little bit?
Well, I think we've already learned something very important by what's played out so far, and that's how enthusiastic Democrats are. The fact that we are in a situation here where, as Priscilla's describing it, being turned
my bad. I was trying to make the switch over to Kornacki Cam. Give me a second. I'm glad to at least hear that James Tallarico, because I was wondering why James Tallarico been so quiet about this whole situation. I was waiting to hear from him, because ain't no reason why Jasmine Crockett should be shouldering this whole situation alone. That don't make no logical sense. Why she the one, and that's a lot of the issue that we had with this whole race to begin with. They use her in order to attack the Republicans and then abandon her when it's time for her to receive her flowers. That's how we got here. So I'm at least glad to hear that James Tallarico has echoed the same sentiment as Jasmine Crockett with regards to the polling. I would like him to go harder. I would definitely like him to go harder. All right, let's see what Kornacki Cam talking about.
Relative to the rest of the state. So I'd say right now, from the Cornyn standpoint, they need these counties to be coming in his shade of red here. And in fact, you do see a couple pink. Kaufman County, this is a fast-growing, sort of getting outside of a little bit outside of Dallas here. Paxton leading the early vote here. Get up into sort of Texoma area here. This is much smaller. Paxton leading there, but I think Cornyn wants to be running up the score here. There are the other area that's going to be strong, I think, tonight for Cornyn is going to be around Austin. So let's see as it fills in. This has to be big for Cornyn. Right now, it's a decent start for him. Democratic side here. Let's take a look, though, at what we're getting in that race. Again, we don't have numbers from Dallas. We will not have numbers from Dallas County until 10 p.m. In the Democratic race, but we do have, in Tarrant County, Fort Worth, you have Crockett here leading in the early vote by 12 points. You have Denton. Again, this is a big one, the early vote. Now, you see, these are two different shades of blue here. This is James Tallarico leading here in the early vote. I think, again, what you want to keep in mind about this area is this is Crockett's backyard politically. Her political base is in Dallas. That is where her congressional seat is. All of the polling in this race going into this election had said that Crockett was winning and winning big with the black vote. There was a lot of sort of disagreement between the different polls out there. The one thing all the polls agreed on was that Crockett was winning big with the black vote. That means we won't know till 10 o'clock, but she needs a gigantic number out of Dallas County when that finally comes in. There's a significant black population, and it's her political base. She's also expected to do well in these other counties, like in Tarrant County. I think early on, she's getting the number she needs there. The question is going to become, this is the early vote, when we start seeing the vote that was cast in real estate. This is the early vote in Fort Bend County. Paxton leading Cornyn by 3 points in the early vote in Fort Bend County.
Now
Wesley Hunt far back in third. Again,
Kornacki
similar area here. Galveston County, this is outside of Houston. It's a pretty big piece of real estate.
I see you know
Again,
gaslighting.
Early vote
Welcome.
looking pretty similar here. Wesley Hunt running distant. Remember, Wesley Hunt's district is in the Houston area, not where I'm showing you on the map right now. But again, just in terms of trying to gauge how Hunt's doing tonight, you're getting closer to his political base right here. So again, Paxton running ahead here. Hunt well in third in the early vote. And again, there's a ton of votes are going to be coming out of Galveston, out of Fort Bend, out of Montgomery, out of Harris County tonight, out of Brazoria County tonight. I wasn't entirely sure what to make of it. It's a little bit different in nature. We talked about the Metroplex here in Dallas, where you got a big concentration of college degrees among the Republican electorate. A lot of affluence, especially in the North Dallas suburbs. There's a lot of college degrees. There's a lot of money in the Houston area as well. But politically, The Republicans in the Dallas area tend to be a little bit more moderate, I think culturally moderate, a little bit more conservative in the Houston area. So the way I was kind of looking at this was,
are you sure it's a lot of degrees?
Cornyn's big strength tonight, the Metroplex. This would be the kind of place.
What kind of degrees we talking about?
Paxton might have more natural advantages in, but it's such a big part of the state. Cornyn's got to do something here. So look at it. It's let's see what I sound like I'm on a broken record here. Let's see what the same day brings. Cornyn is competitive in a little bit trickier part of the state for him here with these early vote numbers. But is that what the same day vote's going to look like? Or is the same day vote going to open up for Paxton? Is he going to open up a big lead here? Because that's how Paxton, you start running up double-digit victories in the counties here in and around Houston, you could start running up statewide pretty quickly. So again,
Steve,
yeah.
With that Fort Bend update, we got new numbers in the Democratic race as well, and in the Texas 18 when you want to check the House races.
Yep. Okay. So now we got Fort Bend on the Democratic side. Again, this is the early vote here out of Fort Bend County, and I'm just trying to looking here at my. Okay. So I think Crockett. This is what she'd want to see out of the early vote in Fort Bend. I think she wants to be winning Fort Bend County here. This is a very fast-growing, racially diverse county. This is, again, these are suburbs south of Houston. This is where Democrats have been doing, until 2024, have been doing better and better in presidential elections. So we got the early vote in Fort Bend. This is a county that Crockett wants to win. She wants to win this thing fairly comfortably. Again, same day the question here, but that's probably a good early vote number for her. Galveston County here, okay, this is more even. And again, I'm just looking here. Yeah, I think I had Crockett wanting to win this county, as a benchmark here. So Tallarico, it all comes down to the same day vote there. Just give you a sense of what we're looking for. This is sort of a toss-up county, Galveston. This here in Fort Bend is one that Crockett wants to be winning here, I think, by a sizable
amount. I got a question. Y'all think this is a real person?
Texas 18, the House
Gabrielle,
race.
Yep, okay. Are you a real person?
Okay,
we got
so
bots
again,
in the chat.
I'll show you first of all, statewide.
We got bots
all
in the
we're seeing is early vote, extremely scattered here. Austin, we have nothing from Austin here. We do have just this is small. This is small. This is the only thing we have from the San Antonio area. That's why I'm showing you other counties around here. Bexar County, a couple others with a lot more population. Just wanted to show you. Nothing from San Antonio, nothing from deep South Texas, nothing from El Paso. A lot of real estate here. Again, remember, on the Democratic side especially, there won't be many votes that come out of West Texas here in the Panhandle. Okay, Texas 18. This is Al Green. Okay, interesting here, huh? We got early vote coming in. I forgot I have to zoom in on this one to show you. Okay, and I'll put the counties. Oh, that didn't work. Okay, here. Wait, shouldn't that have come up? Okay.
Yep.
A black man ran against Al Green.
Okay, we got the Fort Bend. Because we got Fort Bend, we have the Fort Bend portion, the early vote from the Fort Bend portion of the 18th district here. Again, this is very newly minted incumbent Christian Menifee. He's like 5 weeks on the job. Al Green, he's decades on the job here. In the early vote, Green, you can see here with a 2-to-1 advantage over Menifee.
He think he's slick. He's trying to get them to go,
most of the vote in this district is going to come from Harris County and Houston. This is where the race is going to be decided. Obviously, if you're Green, though, this is good news for you to be winning 2-to-1 in the early vote in Fort Bend. Again, smaller part of the district. What's the split there? Is it like 82-18?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 80% of the vote is going to come out of Harris County, Houston, 18%. So we'll keep an eye on that, obviously. Do we have any other House races?
Nothing right now. No.
Okay, nothing yet in the House races.
Steve Kornacki, why he looks so unhappy to be there?
Do I have a clock in here?
Why he looks so mad?
North Carolina. I know we're knowing.
He looked like he lost a bet and had to be on air with Steve Kornacki.
Okay, we're getting close on North Carolina. Okay, let me go back to the Senate race right here. Let's go right back to the Democratic race, and let's flip over to the Republicans. I wanted to see if anything had changed there. Okay, so again, we do have a little bit more here. Statewide here, Cornyn again leading. And again, I think the thing to keep in mind, too, overall, Hunt here running a very, very distant third. So, the polling had mostly been showing that. We did want to see, as the results started to come in, is there confirmation that there really was a big divide between these two and Hunt here.
Get him off the screen, Steve.
Then, let's keep an eye here. Is anyone ultimately getting close to 50%? If somebody could hit 50% plus one, race ends on the spot. It ends tonight. We have a nominee on the Republican side. Otherwise, we're talking about the runoff here.
Bump them on down.
Again, we Metroplex. This is a this what you're
Steve,
seeing
you don't
right
wanna
now
be rude.
is tilted
Just
towards Cornyn.
gradually move everybody
you know,
down,
much more than
and just
Paxton in
start
terms of
cutting
where the
Wesley
vote
off.
has come from. I'm going to put the Democratic
would all
vote back
approve.
up on the screen. And what
And
I
he
want
can't
to
accuse
do
you of being
here,
racism
and
because you don't
Adam,
believe in that.
shout if we get anything else. I want to look at my spreadsheet, and my computer's going to sleep. And you know, folks, I'm used to television where silence is is the worst thing, right? If I stop talking for 5 seconds, everybody changes. I don't know if that's, but if you bear with me, I'm going to talk a little bit less here for a few seconds because I want to check something in my spreadsheet. I've got, I think I told you this, what I'm calling the Big 20.
You know what he's describing is
Democratic
actually
side.
fascinating because I go through that too. Because I came from TV where you never want silence. It's always moving, but on streaming and on social, like when you're going live, the beats are totally different. Like people watch streams totally different than they watch television.
So
and
one thing I wanted
it can be bad.
show you.
You know,
We
sometimes
talked about this
stuff
a little
that
bit with the benchmarks
you guys
here.
would have
I've
enjoyed
given you these
watching,
numbers. I think
won't try
Crockett
to
needs
do
to hit
'cause
in
I
these
can't do it
counties,
quickly
or
'cause I
Talarico
act like
needs
I'm
to.
on
If I give you a number that Crockett needs to hit in the county, the reverse of it is the number Talarico needs to hit. So I mean, it's a two-way race here. So, but a big part of it is when you look back at that 2020 Democratic primary, and when you look at the polls now that have shown the black vote going overwhelmingly for Crockett. You really could see in that 2020 primary that the results tracked closely with the black population, how big or how small the black population was in any area. Basically, half of the Democratic electorate in Texas lives in a county where the black population is at least, overall, is at least 10.5%. Not the electorate, but the overall population is at least 10.5%. So half of the overall vote is going to come from counties where the population is at least 10.5% black. In that 2020 primary, Royce West, who was the candidate from the Dallas area, like Crockett is now, won the overwhelming share of the counties where the population, the black population, was 10.5% plus. Then there were 207 counties where the black population was less than 207. And MJ Hagar, the Austin-based candidate with a lot of parallels, I think, there to Talarico, won 194 of them. So that is one of the things we have been looking at. What is the black population here in terms of setting these benchmarks? And again, like Fort Bend County here, suburbs of Houston. I mentioned the diversity here. I mean, there's a large, it's a very diverse, it's truly a diverse county in that, you know, it's about a quarter Hispanic, white, Asian, and black. There are very large populations of several different groups here. But this is one of the larger black populations you're going to find in a county, especially a county of this size. It's about 20% black, Fort Bend County. So again, when I said Crockett wants to win here and she wants to win big, that's what's going into that. It's got one of the larger black populations of any county in Texas, especially.
All right, while we're waiting, let me get the supers out the way. Thank you, Letitia, for your gift. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. If you receive Letitia's gift, send her some love in the chat. Welcome to Betty. Thank you so much. I like that. I like that icon too. That's pretty good. Just Jay said, "Hey Reese, I thought you were going to do a daily news update, or am I crazy?" I might have mentioned doing something like that at some point, but you trying to kill me, Just Jay. You trying to kill me. We don't have the infrastructure for that right now. I'm doing it's as much as I can do to turn stuff around as quickly as I possibly can. By the way, I'll probably have a video. Not probably. I will have a video, a live reaction video that I clip that will go out early tomorrow, and then probably a premiere later tomorrow. So just FYI. Nicole, only in America. Only in America, Ken Paxton running ahead in a major party primary. That's only in, well, I can't say that because it do be some filthy elections around the world. So I guess I can't really say that. Talarico should have run for governor. It would be awesome for him and Jasmine working together to put Texas first. That would be good. That definitely would have been good for sure. Somebody need to run against. No gaslighting. Welcome. No gaslighting. Thank you so much. Roberta, member for 16 months. Okay, so remember earlier I said 16 months was about as long as you could possibly have been a member? Roberta, I know she been 10-toe down for a long time. I appreciate you. Jess Pepper, welcome. I appreciate you being here. Toxic Banshee, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Good day from West Australia or Austin? I'm going to say Australia. Love your work. Been watching for a couple years. Very entertaining way of showing clown conservatives, FAFO. Thank you very much, Brad. I appreciate you so much. And hopefully that is Australia. But either way, oh, yeah, because there's an A in front of it. Okay, yeah. I think I'm going to do an international video ending pretty soon. It's time. A lot of love from Canada today on the video on Team USA Hockey. I appreciate that. Y'all know I rock with Canada. And I'm kicking myself because I'm thorough in these Winnipeg, Manitoba streets, and I didn't say it in the video, but I am. So I need to circle back around to that. Welcome, Angela. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome. Congrats on hitting that sub count. Thank you, Marsh. Thank you so much. Marsh making it rain. That's what I'm talking about, paying it forward. If you receive Marsh's gifts, send some love. Super proud of my county. Go Fort Bend. Fort Bend in the chat. It's been a couple of Fort Bends. Okay. I see you. Ashley, thank you. Thank you so much, Ashley. I appreciate it. So glad you're covering this. Jazz for the win. Thank you so much. Ilan, I believe it's Ilan. Thank you for being here. Postings. You're the best, Reese. Thank you so much. For being here. Always appreciate seeing you. I appreciate you, bro. Thank you, Brian. I'm glad we could all make it down and be here. And let me get Kornacki back up.
4th District. Now, remember, this is a Democratic incumbent who's in danger of losing her seat. Valerie Foushee, elected in 2022. She beat Nita Alam by 9 points in that primary in 2022. This is a rematch in a political climate within the Democratic Party that is different on a major issue. That major issue involves Israel, the support that Foushee had from the pro-Israel side back in 2022. Certainly a lot of comments that Alam has made over the years that were issues back in 2022, but have the politics changed in the Democratic Party between 2022 and 2026? That's something that this race is going to be telling us tonight. We're looking again, Durham County, okay? All of Durham County. This is Orange County, Chapel Hill, University of North Carolina, Wake County, suburbs of Raleigh, Chatham County, piece of Chatham County here, small piece, going to be the smallest part of this. Now, the way it works, again, in North Carolina was they've delayed the poll closing. It was supposed to be 7:30. Now it's a poll closing of 8:30. We've crossed 8:30. In North Carolina, it's a little different than in Texas in terms of how they report the vote out. I don't know if this is going to change now that they've had an extra hour, but typically what they will do is within minutes of poll closing, they'll report out the vote by mail. Okay, so Texas doesn't have a lot of vote by mail. There's more vote by mail in North Carolina. They will report out the vote by mail typically within a couple minutes of poll closing. Then, about a half an hour or so later, you will get the early vote. The early vote's going to be the mother load. That's going to be the biggest single batch you get in these places. And then after that, you'll get generally incremental reports once every half an hour or so of the same day vote as it's tabulated. So generally 3 phases. Although, again, with the delayed poll closing here, it was only delayed because of one county that is not in this district. So I don't know if that's given them more time here and more ability to get more vote reported out quickly. But I'm leaving it here for a minute because if past is prologue, it's 8:32, we would get a report here. In fact, let me just get my Carolina sheet out. I can give you exact times.
Carolina's
if past is prologue,
supposed to
we're getting
be
something fast here.
North Carolina, what y'all doing?
As in Wake County, the Wake County portion of this district, reported out its vote by mail 3 minutes after poll closing in 2024. We are currently 3 minutes after poll closing. By the way, I'm just about half the vote.
Y'all let Mark Robinson mess the vote
is going to come out of here. Is going to come out of Durham County. 26% is going to come out of Orange County, where Chapel Hill is. 18% is going to come here from the Raleigh suburbs and Wake, and then it's 8% is going to come from Chatham County. So that's the distribution. And again, Alam is a county commissioner in Durham County. Okay, so this is her home base. She did carry this. It was pretty close.
Shout out
she
to
did
Rocky
carry
Mount.
this, though, over Fushi in their 2022
Nashville,
primary.
North Carolina.
Fushi, born and raised
Mark
in Chapel
Robinson
Hill.
was the
She is
true
from
pizza
Orange
cake.
County. She went to the University of North Carolina, and she previously represented, before she went to Congress, a state Senate district that took in Orange County, also took in some of Chatham County, a sliver of Chatham County that's in this district. So this is sort of her base right here. She ran up the score here in Orange County when she and Alam ran back in 2022. It's smaller, but she won by such a big margin, it more than canceled out Durham County. See if that's what happens again tonight or if the dynamics have changed. And then you've got this area right down here, Wake County. And again, this district was changed by redistricting by Republicans this year in North Carolina. Okay, I killed time because I knew it was coming. What are we looking at? So again, I think we're looking at, we're clearly looking at the early vote and the mail vote here. So this is not going to be that three-step process because they had the extra hour. We just got it all at once. So we got in Orange County, Fushi's base here in the early vote, and I believe the vote by mail, right? Is this?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
And Steve, you'll have a News Now hit coming up in a few minutes here, and you're going to start hearing program in your ear a minute out.
Okay, we have a few minutes?
You have like 3 minutes.
Okay, in 3 minutes, I'm going to do a News Now hit. I'm going to update them on Texas and maybe this. They probably just want to stay on Texas, but let me know, Adam, what they want to do. Let me take you through this while I have the time. Okay, so the early vote, the vote by mail, more than half the vote coming now out of Orange County here. Again, this is Fushi's backyard here. She should be winning big here, but I think also encouraging for Fushi is the early vote and the vote by mail does have her ahead by 2 points here in Durham. This is Alam's political base here. Alam had won this narrowly, but she did win this portion of the district back in 2022. So do I even need to say it? It's all about the same day vote right now. Is it going to look like this? If it looks like this, it's great news for Fushi.
Steve, they're going to come to you.
They're going to come to me. I'm going back.
War. And we've got American
guys,
troops
coming to me
being
in a
killed.
second here on News Now, so just bear with me. You'll hear it.
They made a call in the Cooper race.
And could it depress
do we get to
turnout
watch this?
amongst the president's MAGA base?
Oh, we behind the scenes.
Tonight, but throughout the midterms.
Look, we're only into this for a few days.
Still talking to him.
Look
I'm
what
gonna
he
keep
was
talking
able to
to him.
accomplish.
Oh, they still talking.
So they're talking. They're still talking on the News Now broadcast. NBC News has declared. Well, we gave Cooper the nomination.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I don't mean to laugh. It's very serious. It's just obviously it's a foregone conclusion, and he had to remind me. Adam did. He said they called the Cooper race. I said, "Who's Cooper?" I wasn't even thinking about it. But okay. I did want
the Black History brother lost
and show you
the Black History brother
North Carolina
lost
race if I can find it.
Oh.
You also got some new vote in Hayes County.
Oh, okay, that's
called
big.
In
the
Democratic race.
Okay, let's go look at that.
Man, you know what? Just because that
Yeah,
brother lost to Cooper, he still got a future being on them church fans. He could be on them church fans.
Let me jump over to Texas and show our folks on the stream here.
By the way, North Carolina, all my North Carolina people, are y'all Fushi or Alam? I don't know. I ain't been covering it like that. I'll be honest. I can't call it.
Okay, we got 2
I ain't
minutes
been
here.
covering it like
so
that.
we got.
I still feel dirty from all my Mark Robinson.
We have 2 minutes till News Now. Hayes County. This is
Sassy
interesting
said
here.
we don't
What
want
do I?
more
This is
church fans.
again. This is supposed to be.
Y'all Fushi or Alam?
I have
I don't know how to
Talarico's
react to
benchmark
that.
here set at 74%. He's getting 74%. Okay, so Hayes County in the early vote here. Let me zoom in here because I think we're kind of okay. I got a benchmark here of 74% for Talarico, and he is getting 74% right now. And again, we'll just zoom back out and show you statewide. We're starting to get a little bit. These are, we're in the panhandle here. It's tiny. I just wanted to look.
We got Alam, so I'm supposed to be rooting for Alam.
Much more significantly, Cameron County. This is where Brownsville is.
Okay, so apparently I'm supposed to be rooting for Alam,
in deep
even though
South Texas,
Fushi looked
right
like one
over
of the
the border here.
deaconesses.
We've got the early vote, 2/3 of the vote here. And again, this is what we've been talking about. Very, very small.
Fushi looked
black
like the
population,
pastor's wife.
large white
I'm not. I
population,
can't go for.
large
I can't go for the
Hispanic
pastor's
population here
wife.
is what I'm trying to say. And the benchmark that I had for Tallarico here in Cameron County was 65%. So again,
so
he's
we allow him in the chat.
basically in the neighborhood of where he wants to be here in the early vote. But I mean, you're starting to see that pattern that we talked about is coming into focus here. You know, you see it here around Corpus Christi. You see it here around Brownsville. When you start getting south of San Antonio here, start to get to the large, this suggests certainly that Tallarico is doing very well with the Hispanic vote. There was some disagreement in the polling about where that stood. But we got Harris. We got the early vote in Harris. Look at this. Harris is massive. It is 15% of all the vote that's going to be cast in the Democratic primary tonight. Again, the city of Houston's here. It's not just Houston. There's 5 million people in Harris County. Here's Crockett leading by 8 points with the early vote. Again, we talked about, I sort of viewed this one as a bit of a toss-up, but I think this is one that Crockett wants to be winning by a couple points. And when I start to see what's happening here in South Texas, and I start to see maybe the Hispanic vote materializing as pretty strongly for Tallarico, that's what's being hinted at by the numbers you're getting from some of those counties. I think it puts a little more pressure on Crockett to offset it. So in the early vote here in Harris County, she's got the 8-point lead. And again, the benchmark I have there for her is, I think she needs to win it by a few points. You know, if she were to hang on at anything like this in Harris County, that'd be very good news for her. But it's all going to depend on the early vote. Did we just get another? We got, Travis County. This is the heart of Tallarico country, okay? His own state legislative voters, a part of this mix you see here. That's where the city of Austin is. This is the early vote. And again here, Tallarico winning this by 53 points. I will say that the benchmark I have for him here is a little bit shorter than this. It's interesting in that 2020 Democratic primary I was telling you about, MJ Hagar, the sort of somewhat comparable Tallarico candidate.
Dang, he just threw out North Carolina. He went right back to Texas.
In the high 50s here. Tallarico,
disrespecting the Tar Heel State.
More of a hometown, more of a home area boost here, I think is what you're seeing, at least in this early vote.
North Carolina like Hubert Davis treated his
maybe
black
all
heritage.
the supporters were super enthusiastic. They voted early, and it's going to look different same day. That's what we're looking out for. But this is a real big boost for Tallarico coming out of his own backyard.
I'm a Tar Heel
I think a little bit bigger than maybe I was expecting if it were to look like this.
Y'all don't know how
now they're telling me 30 seconds to news now, so I'm going to just zoom back out here and show you where the Democratic race stands overall. Tallarico's taking the lead in the count. What just happened in his own backyard?
That will never leave my thoughts.
A big reason for that.
North Carolinians.
I'm going to do this hit. We'll pick it up right after that.
My dad's from North Carolina, so diehard Tar Heel fan. So that's what that's about. Shout out to South Carolina, where my mom is from. Shout out to Ohio, where my wife is from. And obviously, I'm the DMV. Those are my roots. And my other dad is from Portland. So that's who I rock with.
Yeah. Okay. Did we get anything more out of NC4?
If you could, because we've got a lot more to cover tonight.
It's an interesting night, Mr. Speaker. You're going to want to hang out.
And we appreciate your input, so please stick around. But we do want to head over to Steve Kornacki, who's, of course, still at the big board. Steve, you're looking at Texas. Of course, the Cornyn-Paxton race. What's the latest? How much do we have in?
Yeah, I mean, I think the headline here on the Republican race so far, again, we're looking at early vote, meaning there's a lot of suspense about what the vote that, was cast in person today at the polls looks like. Is it different than this? Does it change the complexion of the race? But I think the big thing you're seeing, too, is that divide here between Cornyn, Paxton, and Hunt. You certainly see Hunt pulling enough votes here to keep both of these candidates in a statewide tally under 50%, but you see a big divide right there between them. So the idea that if there's a runoff, it's going to be between Cornyn and Paxton, certainly looking like that would be the most likely thing here, just based on the vote that we've seen so far. But the Democratic side, I wanted to update you on there. James Tallarico just took the lead statewide here because, in no small part, this happened. Travis County, this is where the state capital, Austin, is. Now, we knew this was going to be big for Tallarico. Remember, he's a state legislator. This is where his district is. This is the early vote. So, you always have that sort of caveat there. Would the same day vote look different, and would this number come down as the rest of it gets tallied? But I'll tell you, if it's anything like this, if he's getting 3/4 of the vote or so out of Travis County and getting real big turnout out of Travis County too, he's getting a real bang out of his backyard here. I think maybe a little bit bigger than expected. It was enough to vault him into the lead in the statewide count. But this is very patchy in terms of where we're getting the votes from. And remember, Crockett's own political backyard, Dallas County, we have nothing from, and we won't have anything until 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
So one way to look at this is, Tallarico just landed a pretty big punch from his home county. Now, when we get Dallas, can Crockett do the same thing? The pressure, I think, is going to be on her to do that.
Can I ask you, press pause on Texas for just 1 second. Take us to North Carolina. We just made those projections here at NBC News. Again, not altogether surprising. The front runners have been projected to be the winners. Tell us how they did it, what you're looking at, and then this other critical House race that we're watching as well in North Carolina 4, and what you're seeing sort of on the early side as votes are coming in there.
Yeah, I mean, again, obviously it just sort of validates what we thought in terms of what the Senate matchup would be there in North Carolina. But this is a night, I think, when Democrats, this sort of no surprise, but Texas is the one, too. Democrats are thinking about different scenarios, different combinations that could maybe get them Senate control at the end of the year.
Can you talk through these Whatley numbers? Because I think one of the things we were looking for is not just if Michael Whatley was going to win, but by how much. Was it going to be a stomp? Was it going to be a squeaker, et cetera? What do you see in there?
Yeah, no, I mean, you can see here the color scheme here is that dark red is Whatley red, and from the mountains all the way to the Atlantic coast, that's the only thing you're seeing right here. Look, it's a 50-point margin statewide. It is only the early vote, so again, there's some room for change here, but it's going to be a landslide for him. It clearly is. Cooper obviously was essentially the de facto nominee to begin with, so this is just one where it's set now, what we all thought it would be, and this is going to be one we spend an awful lot of time talking about heading into the in the general election, because Senate control, all Senate control scenarios, I think, you really kind of run through what happens in North Carolina. In that House race, I think you mentioned it, though. This is interesting. Yeah, let's zoom in here. So what we have, there are 4 counties that are part of this district. Valerie Foushee, again, she's the incumbent elected in 2022. This is a rematch. Nita Alam ran against her in 2022. It was a 9-point race back then. What you have here is the early vote in 2 counties. This is Orange County, Chapel Hill, University of North Carolina. This is Foushee's backyard. Politically, she's winning this by 15 points. She represented this in the state legislature before becoming a member of Congress. Alam, her political base is in Durham County. She's a Durham County commissioner. When they ran 4 years ago, she won this portion of the district. So far, in the early vote, it is close, but Foushee with a 2-point advantage here. Let's see what the same day vote is, but obviously if Foushee were able to do that in Durham County when the same day vote comes in, she'd be breathing a big sigh of relief. But I would, by no means, when you're seeing 50-48 in the early vote, is anybody's breathing a sigh of relief. It really just comes down to what does that electorate look like that came out today. The other parts of this are just going to be down here. Pretty big. Wake County suburb.
That's how Raleigh, much smaller Chatham.
Yeah,
Wake County could be the difference maker in some of that.
Come on, Alam.
And Chatham. So Chatham County here, this got 18% of the vote's going to come out of Wake. 8's going to come out of Chatham. Now, this district, remember, Republicans redrew the lines in North Carolina this year. This district is not one Republicans targeted, but it was affected by it. It used to be Orange, Durham, and then it went to the north. Now it's Orange, Durham, Wake, and a sliver here, a part of Wake, and a sliver here of Chatham County. Foushee may have an advantage. I don't know how long people's memories are, but Foushee, as a state senator, represented a district that included Orange County, her political base, and parts of Chatham County. So she may have a bit of an edge right here. But again, that's only 8% of the vote. You got 18% here in these suburbs. Wake County's massive. Raleigh is there, but it's sprawling. It's expansive. So you're talking about sort of the suburbs there, in Wake County. And yeah, no, you're right. It's kind of new to both of these candidates here.
Right.
It new within the last few months.
That's all right. Steve Kornacki, thank you so much. We will come back to you shortly. Let's head back to the table.
Yeah, let's not.
Okay, great. See, that's fun. You get to see, like,
Alam,
you get
check
to see
that collection plate.
Adam's got
I don't like the numbers in that collection plate, Alam.
I've been handed something. This is like I'm Cronkite. It's like
it's just some guidance on these races.
Yep.
Auntie, thank you so much. I appreciate you, Auntie.
Okay.
Political
we just
junkie.
got Collin
Love you back.
County in Texas.
Thank you for being a member.
In the Senate race as well.
Welcome, Marsh.
In the
Welcome to
Democratic
you.
race.
Okay, I'm going to ask
Cedar
the
Grove.
camera. Stay off me for a second.
Shout out. I love a production account. No gaslighting.
Okay.
Give no gaslighting some love if you
We're
received
back.
that
We're going
gift.
to the Democratic race in Texas. And what has happened while we've been going? We've got a third of the vote now is in. Again, we're still looking at early vote. You say we got Collin County. We got Collin County north of Dallas here. Okay, again, this is the early vote here. It's the vast majority of all the vote. We're going to get there. We got Tallarico running at 57%. And I'm just checking. Okay, yeah, this is, if you're Tallarico, the if here is if it looks this way when the same day vote comes in. But if you're Tallarico, you like this. You're running at 57%. The benchmark that I had set for him in Collin County was 51%. So he's running above that benchmark right here. And this is a big one. You know, we talk about Dallas, we talk about Fort Worth, but this whole area, remember, this area, the Metroplex, is probably going to be 30%. It's, again, I made the circle too big. It's going to be 30% of all the votes that come out statewide tonight. So Collin County here, north of Dallas, is a big one. That's a good number preliminarily for Tallarico. And again, especially because geographically, you're kind of up in Crockett's neck of the woods right here. And again, same thing in Denton. I think it's about where he wants to be. No, it's a little bit higher than he wants to be. You know, that's a good number for him in Denton too. Yeah, we're seeing good numbers here for Tallarico on the early vote. But, and again, great number for him out of his base. He's definitely getting the numbers that we're seeing.
The question is what we
Texas,
expect from the same day vote.
He's definitely getting numbers that suggest the Hispanic vote is going his way in a pretty
we vote
sizable.
early?
That was something when you look at the polling in this race that really was all over the place. I saw a poll that had Crockett ahead with Hispanic voters. I saw a poll that had Tallarico way ahead with Hispanic voters. But if you're looking down here in Brownsville, Cameron County, and you're up 2-1. If you're James Tallarico, you're winning a lot of Hispanic votes. Just go right north. It's much, it's 57 votes here. It's too small to say too much. That's one of the things here. When you get out, we're going to talk about this because this part of Texas here, again, from the San Antonio suburbs to El Paso, a little bit less than this. This is the 23rd district of Texas, which we're going to check in on here shortly. I just don't see the big population centers reporting yet. But one thing to keep in mind is some things, they look really big, but they're pretty small. This is about 400 votes coming out of this county.
I know.
Geographically,
that's why the
is
Senate
that
looks
bigger
the
than
way
Rhode
that
Island?
it does.
That's Texas for you, though. So
Land
some of the smallest
voting.
places have
we
like
know
5
all
million
about
people.
Steve.
Some of the biggest places have like 5. So one thing to keep in mind as this map fills in. But again, if you're Tallarico, I think you are the most happy
This
about
channel
what you
keeps
got
me saying with all the insanity
Austin.
happy. Thank you, Reese, for your
we just
voice
showed
this
you out
moment.
of Austin.
Thank you, Steph. I
think
really
down
appreciate
here
that. Thank
in
you so
Hayes
much.
County,
And another
again,
16
you're pretty
months.
much what you expect here, but this is where San Marcos
From the very
is.
beginning.
This
Thank
is,
you.
In line with what a
big lunch.
I think a Tallarico,
Shout
good
out.
night for Tallarico would look like.
Send big
North
lunch
of
some
Dallas,
love
I
if
think
you got that
you're pretty
gift.
happy right
Marion,
now.
thank you so much, Marion. I appreciate
Amarillo
you.
kind of strides these two
Love your
counties.
show.
This is
Harris
the
County,
only
Texas in the
place
house. I
in the
love
Panhandle
that
where
we
you're going to
got
have
so many
any kind of
Texans
population.
and
It's going to be more
North
on the
Carolinians in the
Republican
chat.
side. But let's
Shout
give
out to y'all.
Amarillo. We're going from Amarillo to Brownsville,
Congrats,
El
Reese.
Paso to
Let's get you to a
Texarkana. We're
million.
doing all
Thank you,
corners
Derek.
of Texas.
We're
So
gonna
let's
start
give
with
Amarillo a
705.
shout out here. We've got the early vote. We've got Tallarico.
We're gonna hit
14
705.
points ahead in the early vote there. I did set a benchmark for him here in Potter County, and I set that at north of 55%. All right,
Thank you, Shay.
55.9%.
I appreciate
That's the
you,
early
Shay
vote.
Fire.
So, okay,
Shout out to you.
We wanted to get on the record. We're not
Edwin.
ignoring the Panhandle tonight. We're not going to
Thank
ignore
you,
Lubbock.
Edwin.
We're going to
I love that
Midland,
patch,
Odessa.
too.
We're going to
That's
get to all
nice.
these.
I don't grow enough hair to
we
do
have
that.
McLennan County.
But
This
shout
is
out,
where Waco
Edwin.
is. Again, this is the kind of place if you're Tallarico. I think you want to be getting about 54% here. He's running at 51 right now, so it's a little bit less maybe. It's smaller out there. This is where Waco is, though. It's certainly, it's not nothing. We're starting to see some stuff filling in 23, enough that I want to check in on that race right now. So let me do this. Let me reset statewide. Okay, so you got a scattering of votes that have come in. You have Tallarico leading by 5 points right here. And again, we took you through the dynamics that have gone into that. Let's show you the Republican race here. And again, clear separation here from Cornyn to Paxton, back to Hunt here. And I wanted to point this out. This happened, I think, while we were waiting on News Now. On the Republican side, I said there was some suspense here about Harris County. Yeah.
News Now is going to come back to you, Steve.
What do they want to talk about?
Texas.
Okay. We're about to do News Now, folks. So I'm going to say a lot of that. That I was just about to tell you on News Now.
I love that. Is it News Now coming back to you, Steve? What they want?
So
what they
here's
want?
the thing. I can hear. I'll talk to the folks here.
I'm talking to the people.
I can hear the News Now broadcast. They're still in the middle of an interview. So I'm going to continue.
He reacted like your mama calling you downstairs.
We're going to talk about the Texas Senate race with the News Now folks. But because we're starting to get these, again, geographically big, population small counties in, I want to put this on your radar here because probably the single most endangered incumbent tonight in the House side in either state is right here, Tony Gonzalez, in the 23rd District of Texas in the Republican primary. This is Brandon Herrera, who opposed Gonzalez in the primary 2 years ago and nearly beat him then. Of course, there's been a scandal around Gonzalez in the closing weeks of his campaign. About a national sort of Republican grassroots media energy has sort of been on his side in this. Gonzalez does have Trump's endorsement in this race. So all we're getting right now, again, very, very small vote totals.
Now this would be interesting on Gonzalez.
Counties here. I'm just showing you, what talk about small. 1-0 in the early vote in Loving County.
That's Texas.
That's what we're talking about here. This district is going to be decided. Okay, zoom in. This district is going to be decided here. This is Bexar County. This is San Antonio. This is the San Antonio area. Half the vote is going to come from this
County.
Slice
I know
of
Bexar
Bexar
County from
you go next door to Medina County. 16% of the vote, is going to
Bexar
come
County
out of
stayed
here.
on cops.
About 10% of the vote's going to come out of Uvalde.
They
County.
was always
So
in trouble.
This
I know about
is
Bexar County.
There's a couple other smaller population centers, but this is really where the district, I think, is going to be decided tonight. Gonzalez owes his victory in 2024 over Herrera in the primary to being.
By the way,
able to
y'all
win
remember
the
that
Bexar
show,
County
Jail?
portion by 8 points. The largest
Jail
part
was
of this
way
district.
better than
He won it
Cox.
by 8, and he
But it didn't have as long
eked out
a run,
win
unfortunately.
district-wide. So I think kind
Jail
of
was
keeping that in
fire.
mind here in this as the returns come into tonight. When you get that Bexar County, anything
Bexar
getting
County?
around 10 points, around a 10-point lead or so for Gonzalez.
Bexar County.
If he's looking at that, I think he's in the game district-wide. If it's down mid-single digits, low single digits, I think he's really starting to get in trouble. If he's ever losing the Bexar County portion of
Or
the
is it
district, I
both?
think he's lost his seat. So just starting to get some.
Is it both? Why am I confused?
Now I'm hearing
He
this
said
interview on
Bexar
News Now.
County, but it
I think
said
they're still
Bexar
interviewing,
up
so
there.
I got a little more time with you guys. So that's what's happening in 23. Adam, did we get any more house?
Is the bear named Bexar?
House
I'm
races?
confused.
We have some in the Crenshaw race.
We do. Let's show you Crenshaw. Okay.
And we also
yeah.
got Lubbock County.
Oh, good. Okay. So we got early vote in here. Let me get the.
Dan Crenshaw running too?
Sorry. So this is the Harris
it's
County
the
portion.
Exercise
Now, this is
Island.
interesting.
Well,
Remember,
where's
folks,
Bexar County?
Toth
Hold
is from
up.
this is
I
Toth
remember
Crenshaw.
watching Cops, and they was always in
Toth is
Bexar
from
County.
this part of the district. This is Montgomery County. This is the Woodlands. This is Toth's base here. This is the Harris County portion
Is it
of the
in a
district
different place?
where we have the early vote coming in from, and Toth is leading that, and he's leading that by 9 points. That's very interesting. Nobody really knew what to make of this.
Maybe it was just
Crenshaw,
me
remember,
saying Bexar
the
County.
only House incumbent on the Republican side
Never
in
mind.
Texas who didn't have Trump's endorsement.
I guess it was just me. It was just me yelling
Which is
Bexar
this
County.
race
My bad.
with Senator Cornyn,
My
Ken
bad.
Paxton, and Wesley Hunt. And you heard the former speaker there, Steve, talk about the way that the vote has quite frankly been split up, how it is all but guaranteed to go to a runoff.
Yeah, I mean, again, the divide here now is very, clear here in terms of, Hunt so far back here, but enough that, look, in the count right now with a third of the vote, Cornyn well short of 50, Paxton well short of 50. So they're each doing well enough, I think is the story that I'm seeing right now. Cornyn and Paxton are each doing well enough that they're not letting the other one run away with this thing. And Hunt is getting enough votes to make sure that neither one of them gets close to 50%, gets close to that runoff territory. So again, I'm just sort of I think we introduced this with you a little bit earlier. We expected that Cornyn was going to do best, like, I show you here, it was going to do best in a place like, in Dallas County, Tarrant County, Fort Worth next door, north of Dallas. You see them. We're starting to get same day vote here too, right, Adam? Okay, that's the big question we've been looking for is, are we getting some same day vote? But this is Cornyn doing very well here. I think when you get, it's going to take a while on the Republican side. When you get Travis County, it doesn't have the same kind of wallop in terms of vote share that does on the Democratic side. I think Cornyn's going to do pretty well there as well. Interestingly, Harris County, this is 10% of all the vote on the Republican side. Basically a tie there in the early vote. But there are still some areas on this map here that I think Paxton could get could really squeeze some juice out of. This is the one I think I talked to you guys about this at the start of the broadcast, but Montgomery County, there is no county in America that produced a bigger vote plurality in 2024 for President Trump than Montgomery County. The growth here has been explosive. The population's grown like 400,000 people this century, 750,000 people. It's some of the most deeply Republican, deeply conservative turf you're going to find on the map anywhere. And I'm very curious to see what the number is that comes out of there, because I think the Paxton folks are probably expecting some big things there.
In the next couple of seconds before we hit the top of the hour, Steve, I know you've also been looking at the Crenshaw-Toth race too. What's interesting about that right now?
Something very interesting, and it's in the exact same area I was just talking to you about. I got to zoom in, geographically small, but okay.
Okay.
Sorry, there's a lot going on here, but this is the district. This is the district. Okay, there's two counties in this district. This is the county I was just telling you about. This is Montgomery County. This is part of Montgomery County, okay? Montgomery County is represented in the state legislature by Steve Toth. That's his political base. We don't have any vote from Montgomery County. Where we have vote from is from the other half of the district, and that is the Harris County portion. This is the suburban northern part of Harris County here, okay? It's that, you could kind of see it there. Toth is leading the early vote there. He's leading Crenshaw by 9 points in the early vote, sort of outside of his Montgomery County base. Okay, so I'll keep asking these questions about does the early vote, does the same day vote look different? I think you're Crenshaw. You really want this to look different now, or you want to be doing exceptionally well on Toth's, in Toth's base there. But Toth right now, that's an interesting number coming out of the Harris County portion.
Ooh, well, you've dropped some interesting little breadcrumbs here, Steve Kornacki, that we're going to be sort of chasing around and following up on over the course of the night.
Steve, thanks for that. Appreciate it.
Sure. Okay.
That was a good report,
folks,
but
so
Steve being too nice to Wesley Hunt.
Let me pull the
Steve, call it like it is.
The Democratic primary back up here for the Senate. Okay, not much has changed.
Cornyn
and I also
Paxton
looking at that 23rd
running neck and neck. They won't let
district.
one
I wanted to
get
see
away
if we
from
got
the other
anything
one.
in
But
there.
Wesley Hunt getting his ass whooped down here. I ain't gonna hold you. I ain't gonna hold you. Wesley Hunt getting his ass.
We have Uvalde on the Democratic side. Okay, we have the early vote in Uvalde. This is very small. It's not why I clicked on it. I clicked on it because that must mean that we have Uvalde in the Republican race.
And quite frankly, just for his own safety.
But we don't.
I'm just going to drop him off.
Never mind. These parties can do their own. They could be.
It's not that much
as we're seeing in Dallas County. The
like
procedures aren't automatically the same, and the vote counts aren't automatically the same. And I saw Uvalde in the the Democratic race, and I thought we had it, and that would be a very significant thing in this Tony Gonzalez primary, but we don't. So let's go back here, reset statewide in this Cornyn race. Take a look out here. West Texas, again, this is where Texas Tech University is. Lubbock, Texas. This is a population center in West Texas. It's not too much, but this, in a Republican primary, when you add up the Panhandle, when you add up West Texas, sort of a broad definition of West Texas here, even Central Texas getting outside of the cities of Central Texas, that's going to be close to 20% of the vote. On the Democratic side, it's very, very small, but these very small counties add up on the Republican side right here. And again, the population centers, such as they are out in the western part of the state, in the Panhandle,
what
Amarillo is, Cornyn leading the early vote there, shares a little bit of Amarillo, bleeds into Randall County, Cornyn the early vote there as well.
Lubbock,
again, these are population centers. You get that Midland, Odessa down here, waiting to get those two in.
Keep him up there or take his photo
County,
away.
again, it's right outside of Austin here.
Take his photo
early vote.
away.
We said this area we expected would be good for Cornyn.
Like y'all don't know who
you're
he is.
seeing that. McLennan County, where Waco is, these population centers, hubs of these small metro areas. Cornyn Cornyn leading the early vote in. But again, taking a look here statewide, that's what it looks like on the Republican side. I want to get back to that Democratic race, though. Let me call that up. And 36%. Adam, did we just get
the question right there.
A new significant
That's the question.
County here? I'm seeing the number change.
Lubbock was still our big one in the Democratic race. We just got Bell in the Republican race. Check in on Bell.
Yeah, what was the
Yeah,
number
we
there?
know that.
So Bell County, we just got 16,000
We definitely
votes.
know that, Charmaine.
Cornyn gets the plurality.
Okay. But we don't have that in the Democratic race. That's a key one in the Democratic race. I wonder if that means it's about to, would it be about to come in the Democratic race? Oh, we have it. Okay, yeah. Oh, this is interesting. I'm glad you flagged that. Okay. So Bell County, okay, now you're this is where Killeen, Texas is. There is a significant black population here. Interestingly, this is one of the counties, I have about 5 circled on this map. I was talking about in 2020, in that Democratic primary in 2020, that in some ways could be a model, for this one. There were 5 counties with significant black population in them that West, the black candidate race, did not win. This is one of them, Bell County. It's a sizable county. It's a decent mid-sized county here. Crockett doing very differently here in the early vote. She's up 2-1 here. We told you, again, demographically, the results in 2020 tracked very close to the black population of the counties. This county was an outlier in 2020. This is an improvement on that model for Crockett. So I think that's an interesting result there in the early vote coming out of Bell County. Again, they're midway there between Waco and Austin. So again, zoom out here. I think that one had already been there. I had missed it, but that was I think that was key.
If you do want to check in with North Carolina 4, we are getting some election day vote.
North Carolina 4.
Yeah. Orange County just came in.
Go Tar Heels from
and we have a
Plasmo
little bit of
Cat.
election
Shout
day
out.
vote.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Overall,
Thank
we
you.
have
I
about
appreciate you.
7,000 in our bucket.
Silver Soul
and we got
Soul.
Chatham.
Crockett's
Okay.
proved her superiority, her
She
commitment
was-
and track record. She's the
Okay,
boss.
folks, we're
Thank
back
you.
in North Carolina 4 because we have
Thank you.
a lot of same days coming in now. So remember with Orange County,
to pay it
we
forward,
had just
Zaza.
gotten the early vote in the
Way to
mail.
pay
Now
it
the same
forward.
day is coming
I
in.
love that.
And Fushi's lead is 11 points. How is that same day looking?
It's breaking about even, 48-48 right now with about 9,000 election day votes.
Okay, so the same day vote is more friendly to Alam than the early vote.
Interesting.
That's significant because Fushi led the early vote, but it was relatively close, especially in Durham. So now you're seeing in orange, remember,
Let's
this
go,
is
Alam.
Fushi's base. And Alam is now running even
Fushi's
with the
a
same
Duke
day
fan.
vote. We've had a
We
fair
don't do
amount of
that.
same day vote come in. She's running even with it.
She a
It has
Duke
tightened the
fan.
gap here. I can tell you as well, I think this is what would be
Man,
very
she
good
don't
news
like
for the
Duke.
Alam campaign.
She root
in
for NC
Orange
State.
County in
Get outta
2022,
here.
when these two faced off against each other, Fushi won it. She won it 49-35. So it was a 14-point margin for Fushi in the Orange County portion of this district back in 2022 when she won district-wide. Tonight, it's sitting at 11, and that number, based on what we're seeing so far with the same-day vote, could get smaller, could come into single digits if it continues on the trajectory that we have. Now, again, Fushi won the district overall by 9 points in 2022, so she can afford some slippage from how she did in 2022, but this is, so far, slippage in her base. Take a look next door in Durham County. This looks like we still just have the early vote in Durham County. Is that right?
In Durham, yeah, I think we have a little bit of we have about 2,000 election day votes in Durham.
And how are they looking?
Alam 52.
Melanie. Thank you,
Fushi
Melanie.
46.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
I appreciate
folks,
you.
I think you heard that. So the early
Judy
vote in
Jamerson.
Durham,
Thank you.
narrowly
Shout
for
out.
Fushi. The same day vote, just a small amount of it's come in. Remember, this is where Alam is a county commissioner.
Gingy?
She's up 6 in the
Jenny.
votes that have been counted so far,
Jenny,
early vote.
welcome.
So
Welcome,
again,
Jenny.
to put this in perspective,
JJ,
going
we
back to
gonna
that
go with JJ.
2022 race. In 2022, Alam won Durham County in that race 46-40. She trails it by 1.5 points right now, but she's leading the same day that's been counted so far
that sounds
by
good.
about 6 points. But that's a benchmark for her. She wants to, again, she lost overall in 2022.
I got you, KS.
So she wants to win this, I think, by at least 6 points here tonight. Take a look down.
Too soon to ask for a recount.
In terms of the vote totals, this is going to be the smallest to report out tonight. Now this, okay.
Probably
if you're
too
Fushi,
early.
this is the best news you've seen. You've got 2/3 of the vote that we expect to come out of Chatham County. It is early vote. Do we have same day coming in here?
Yeah, I think we have.
Okay, that's the
$1
million question. Is she also winning the same day?
In Chatham, it's just 500 votes, and that was the newest thing that just came in, and that's Fushi 49, Alam 46.
Okay, so if you heard that, it's like a wash right now with the same day here. If that's the case, this number is going to come down because again, there's a lot of votes. 1/3 of the vote is still to be counted here. If 1/3 of the vote goes
Here's a question I have for
anything
the
like
people
the vote that
in,
Adam just said, which is basically a tie.
You know,
close
the
to a tie,
conversation in Texas
then obviously what is now
is
31
basically
point
about
lead is
the
going to
black
come
vote
down. But
on
if
the
it's
Democratic
even in the
side.
same day, this will still end up
Interestingly,
being
not on the
a
Republicans.
Fushi, victory in Chatham County. And again, we said
We'll
Chatham
hear about
County
the black vote for
added
Wesley
here
Hunt.
through that redistricting this year. Previously,
What is it like
Fushi had
in North
represented
Carolina?
parts of
Are
Chatham
black
County in the
people
state
voting for
legislature,
Fushi
so
for
we
the most
wondered
part?
if there was a bit of an advantage here for her.
Y'all let me know
so
what that
we're seeing
situation is
here
like.
is Fushi may be showing some slippage in Orange County, traditionally her base. How much slippage? That same day vote looming very large there right now. Being able potentially to
Shout out, no
compensate for a little
gaslighting.
bit in Chatham County. We have nothing from Wake to go on right now. And then
the
Durham
dirty
County, just
dude.
click back here
Respect
again.
to you as well. Thank
where
you.
Alam, look, she won it by,
Here
she
you
won
go
this
for
portion
some
of the
coffee.
district by
Go
6
Jazz.
points
Thank you, Ellie.
in 2022. So she wants to get
I
it
got
up there
my
again and
coffee
go
right here.
farther. Leading the same day vote
But
by
I gotta
6
be
points
careful because
so
they're not
far.
closing the
But I think
polls for
between
another
these three
hour
counties,
in Texas. And
clearly,
who
to
knows how
some
long that's
degree,
gonna
it
last.
looks
So I
like
gotta,
Alam is doing better,
know.
maybe significantly better with the same day vote than she did with the early vote. And while the early
Good
vote
evening,
is
Team
going to
Reese.
make
I love
up
what you
most
and your team
of the
continue to
vote here
produce.
in
Thank
this
you,
district,
Jonathan. I
that still
appreciate
leaves
you.
a lot
Thank you so
that
much.
the same
Much
day is
love,
gonna
much
make
love,
up.
much love.
That, again, you just sort of zoom out here.
Jail
It's
was
an
good,
8
but cops were funny.
zoom
See,
way
I
out,
think
huh?
jail was
You
funnier.
didn't need to see Asheville.
Jail
zoom
was
out
funnier
here,
to
though,
me.
and it's
I
an
don't know.
8-point advantage for Fushi right now. We
I like
await
jail.
still.
You get into
probably
a fight
come in
and
with
they
an
bring
early
you
vote batch in Wake,
and your
and
lady,
then the
or
same
you
day
and your
right there,
husband or whoever,
Fushi's
and they
looking
have
to
you
get
all
a good
sit
number
across
out of Wake. She needs some. She needs
across
as much
each other in the
of
same
of
same
of
room.
a pad here in the voting
All
as she can get. With Alam right now, I think
Jail
in
was
that
funny,
same day
man.
voting, those numbers Adam's telling me are pretty encouraging. I think if you support Alam in this race. Okay.
I do have a little bit more guidance coming up for News Now.
Yeah.
So we'll have another hit with them coming up in 4 or 5 minutes. I also have this note for you, Steve.
Okay.
So we'll have a hit with News
love
Now
these.
coming up in 4 or 5 minutes.
Jail
They wanna talk about
arrest somebody
the
for
Hispanic,
solicitation and
majority
bring you in the
Hispanic
same
county
holding
votes
area
in both the
with the
Republican
Johns.
and Democratic races.
And they just sitting there
So just coming up in about 4 minutes.
Why you
Majority
ain't say
Hispanic
that?
counties.
Okay, good. So let's go back.
Jail-
we have
jail was
a
funny,
hit
man.
in 5 minutes coming up. Let's go back over.
LaShawn, thank you so much, LaShawn. I
Texas here,
appreciate
check
you so
in.
much. Thank you for being here and a part of the
Do
channel.
we have new numbers that have come in since we've been
Thanks for
talking?
always
I'm
being the
looking
best
Yeah,
part
we
of
have
my
a little
night. Hey,
Uvalde
Shade Fire. Salute
vote
to
that's
you.
come
on the
in.
Republican side?
Salute
On the
to you.
Republican side.
Thank you
Okay,
so
let's
much.
go right over
About
there.
2,000 votes.
Okay. So, this is that Herrera-Gonzalez
Is
primary.
Gonzalez
We've
gonna
got
go
the
down?
early vote now in Uvalde County, I think is how you're supposed to say it, right? You've got the early
It's
vote there,
Uvalde?
and you're looking at
They were saying Uvalde
about
for
10% of this district, the vote in this
years.
district.
Oh, what we doing?
Is ultimately going to come out of Uvalde County, and I just want to.
Whoa!
I have benchmarks
Who
here
is
as
he
well.
running against?
I am furiously
Is that a
scrambling to
middle-aged
find
influencer?
in this great neat pile of paper that I got here.
Who
Bear
is he
with me
running
if you
against?
Would. Where do I have it?
That man spent all his campaign funds on the promo shoot.
Yes. So, okay.
Gonzalez.
Yeah. About 10%. This is interesting. About 10% of the
Gonzalez.
vote in this House primary is going to come out
I
of
gotta
Uvalde
wipe my
County.
screen off.
In the early vote here, you can see it's
Come
a 9-point
on.
advantage for Herrera.
Come
I think what is significant is in this same
Bruh,
county
Lorenzo
in
Lamas.
2024, when Gonzalez was narrowly survived the primary. Gonzalez won this county in 2024 over Herrera by 10 points. Okay? In the early vote, he's trailing it
to
by
that man,
9.
You got to retire.
All right, so you can see again. This is probably close
you probably should do
to
it anyway,
10% of the vote. When all is said and done, probably close to 10% of the vote in the district is going to come out of
doing
here.
It for America.
And Gonzalez, at least in the early vote, is not tracking what he got in 2024. 2024, he narrowly survived a challenge from Herrera. But again, the lion's share of the vote. We can show you a few more counties here.
I lost.
Webb,
Who you lose
Webb
to?
came in
1983.
Talarico.
Oh, we got Webb. Okay.
I lost in
Laredo, this is one of the
1983.
big
That's
counties and big population centers in South Texas, deep South Texas. Let's take a look at the Democratic primary for
Somebody
Senate.
said Gonzalez leading overall.
Webb County.
Okay.
And there you go. The early vote is in. Talarico, 65. Crockett, 31. I have my benchmarks. Bend over here. All right. I have my benchmarks. And yeah, I got Crockett sitting here at Talarico at 62 in my benchmark. He's running at 65 in the early vote down here. Again, this is totally consistent with what we've been talking about here. As you get into South Texas, where that Hispanic vote looms large, Talarico is clearly winning it. He's clearly winning it by a substantial margin here, and he's right sort of at those benchmarks that I think he wants to be at in this place. That was just looking here at Cameron County. Do we have any same day from South Texas, do we?
Yeah, Herrera.
I see
gun.
Yeah, tough to say right now.
Okay, on the Democratic side, Montgomery County just came in. Does that mean it came in on the Republican side? This is Trump's biggest county in America. Let's take a look here at the Republican race. Yep. Okay.
I hear you, Nishi.
Yeah, okay. This is what I was suspecting might happen. Look at that margin for Ken Paxton. This is a monster county here, just in terms of its size in Republican politics. Again, there is no county in America, more than 3,100 of them, that delivered a bigger vote plurality for Donald Trump than Montgomery County. Are we about to go live with News Now?
And
I'm going to talk about this on News Now, folks. You're not going to miss anything.
We'll be about a minute out.
Okay.
You know what he should do for this hit he's about to do? Just talk about Wesley Hunt the whole time.
That is a huge number for Paxton right there. There's a ton of votes.
Just talk about Wesley Hunt.
He's also leading in Fort Bend. We'd seen this.
Just talk about Wesley Hunt, folks. You better talk about Gonzalez.
Yes, I can.
Bring Gonzalez on the screen.
And
to the
Adam,
big audience.
we have Texas
they
too.
need to see that. The big audience needs to see that, Steve.
No? We don't have it in the House race yet?
It hasn't.
If you don't talk about it, at least have him on the screen when you begin.
We still have a little time. Folks, this is going to be a big moment, too, for this Crenshaw primary. Seeing that vote come in from Montgomery County
Kornacki, what
in the
was you
Senate
looking
race
at before we came?
presumably means we're about to get an update in this House race. I should zoom in so you can see. Remember, look, this is a huge moment for Crenshaw, what the number shows when we get an early vote number out of Montgomery County. The Harris County portion, remember, just about half the district is Harris. It's a little bit less than half is Harris, a little bit more than half is Montgomery. Early vote in Harris.
I don't know how to feel about Dan Crenshaw.
I was saying it wrong earlier. Leading
He's
Crenshaw.
Kind of like a Marjorie Taylor
What
Greene.
is happening
he
in
was
Montgomery
loathsome,
County?
and then he's
You
actually
just saw what that delivered for Paxton. A big,
relatively
a very, very big pro-Paxton electorate
lately
for this House race. How are they siding here? I keep waiting for it to flip. I'm thinking it's going to come on, but Adam, keep me.
Yeah,
like the real
when it comes in.
Folks, I'm going to zoom out.
Like the real
and do the Senate race
Trumpers
because we're about
hate
to do
Crenshaw,
that for the
that tells you a lot.
Broadcast. Oh, now zoom back out on this.
By the way, did y'all see Matt Walsh melting down today?
Okay. We're just waiting. They're just the guest is finishing up, and they're going to come to us.
Steve, put Gonzalez on the screen.
I get it.
What, can you have any
put him
quick
on the
nuggets,
side
Adam?
screen.
Anything you've been looking?
Yeah, the latest.
We're
getting small reports from Falls, Rockwell, Cameron counties in Texas. Those are the most recent updates. But we're waiting for those big counties.
In North Carolina, is there anything else coming in North Carolina?
Not in the last.
Wake is the big question.
10 minutes.
You know, we should be checking in on North
Oh,
Carolina.
I left y'all hanging with the Matt Walsh thing. Matt Walsh was calling out all the Republicans.
I can
180
show that
on Iran. Everything he said was legit.
You're seeing behind the scenes,
Everything
folks.
he said was 1,000% legit.
The news now thing is going to me as soon as they finish with the guest.
Sticks out like a sore thumb because of how rare it is for them to have any level of integrity about anything.
And if so, if I can show you North Carolina 1, because that's what I wanted to do. But I think they're wrapping him. So I'm going to stand here. And then we're going to talk about Texas. Do we have anything new that I can show them fresh for Texas?
That's right. Let them fight.
Okay. Okay.
That's what we're doing.
For all the
broke
the drama I can here.
Yeah.
Okay. They told me to stand by, folks. Here it comes.
Put Gonzalez on the screen.
Former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, if you can hang out, we'll talk. We'd love to have you back, but let us know if you got to run. We're not going to be mad. Steve Kornacki, let's talk about some of these. You heard it from Kevin McCarthy there. The Latino vote here, these Latino majority counties in Texas. You're watching that closely.
We are, yes. Although, if you'll permit me, we just got a big piece of real estate that what were we talking about on the Republican side the last time I came out with you guys? The biggest pro-Trump county in America, Montgomery County. 750,000 people live in this county. It produced the biggest plurality in America for Donald Trump in 2024. And I was really curious. This is north of Houston here, the Woodlands, if you know the area here. The Paxton folks, I think, were expecting big things out of this county. And boy, they didn't get them. This is the early vote in Montgomery County. And look at that, a 30-point margin here for Paxton over Cornyn. There's a ton of votes that come out of here. This is one of the most conservative, very active politically counties you're going to find anywhere. And you can see that energy behind Paxton coming out of that vote right there. Again, with the early vote, what that did to the statewide vote. Again, a lot of population centers. I think we have more vote, I think, sort of from the population centers than from the more rural parts of Texas here, which have been, I think, helping Cornyn's overall number. You know, you're seeing there Cornyn ahead by 3 points in the count right now. But that batch that Paxton just got out of Montgomery put a dent in that. And I think you can see in a lot of when you get away from the population centers, you see a little bit more for Paxton. So I think he's certainly got they'll add up. They're not going to be big individually, but they will add up. I just want to look, if you'll permit me, because we just got Montgomery. The last time I talked to you guys, that is so big to Dan Crenshaw trying to hang on. And if we got it in the Senate race, do we have it now in the House race? And what a build up for nothing, guys. We don't have we don't have Montgomery for the House race. We only have it for the Senate race. I wasn't sure. I was hoping for a big moment there. But anyway, that when we get that, which I think could be moments from now, I think we're going to know a lot about Dan Crenshaw and what's going on there.
All right, Steve, can you bring us up to speed on what's going on with James Tallarico and Jasmine Crockett, because that's obviously one of the big races that we're watching tonight.
Yes, and you had asked me about the Hispanic vote, and now I will answer your question, because we are finally getting, I think we are getting what timing, you guys? Bexar County. This is San Antonio. This is 8% of all votes in the Democratic primary. When all is said and done, we just got the early vote out of Bexar County. So this is a very big one here. This gets to what you're talking about, certainly with Hispanic vote. Tallarico winning the early vote in Bexar County here, 56-42. Now, what's interesting is I've been looking at I've been talking about this on the live stream here, benchmarks that I've kind of had in these counties for these candidates. I think from what we'd seen elsewhere that Tallarico perhaps wanted to be doing a little bit better, or wants to be doing a little bit better than 56-42 in Bexar County. I think he wants to be in the 60s here. I think he wanted to be in the 60s here. We'll see as the same day vote comes in here if this number ticks up for him. But I think it's interesting, because the bigger point I was about to make is that elsewhere south of San Antonio, we are starting to get some big counties here, okay? This is where Corpus Christi is. You see, what you're talking about here is small black population, large Hispanic population, okay? And look, Tallarico, 25, 26 points ahead here around Corpus Christi. Brownsville, okay? 30 points there for Tallarico in the river. Here's a huge one, Webb County, where Laredo is, 34 points. These are all numbers in deep South Texas there that are very consistent with Tallarico winning the Hispanic vote, and I think winning it sizably. So that was one of the mysteries that we had in the polling coming into tonight, was what that Hispanic vote was going to look like in South Texas here, deep South Texas. I think we're getting a very clear look. Although, again, I will say I'm interested here. Based on what I've been seeing there, when I clicked on Bexar County, I was expecting to see a bigger number for Tallarico out of there. So overall, what that adds up to here, again, this is early vote that's been coming in. We're waiting to compare it to the same day, and I can't stress it enough, we don't have Dallas County. Crockett's home county here. But in the early vote, 7-point advantage for Tallarico right now.
I was just going to ask you, do we have a sense, obviously we don't have Dallas County yet, but any sense of how the African-American turnout has been? Obviously, Jasmine Crockett making the argument that she's the candidate to best turn out the African-American vote.
Yeah, I mean, again, so the counties that have sizable black populations, where you would be looking, East Texas here, this thing, I gotta get this right here. So here you go. This is where Beaumont is. Jefferson County has the largest share of black population of any county in Texas. There are no majority black counties in Texas, but Jefferson County has the highest concentration of black voters. And look at that. Crockett running at 80% here this is the early vote, but this is 2/3 of the vote. And again, this is expected, I think. I in fact have a benchmark written down here for Crockett. 80%. I think she needs to get 80% out of Jefferson County. She's running at 80% in the early vote right here. So let's see if that continues. But that's consistent with the candidate who is winning the black vote by overwhelming margins.
So, Steve, we're about 36 minutes away from, obviously, the poll close there in Dallas County and in that section of Texas there. I would never ask you to make a prediction on a crystal ball, but if you were looking at sort of the next big places where you're looking to see vote drop in, and either in Texas, what's the thing you keep refreshing? Bring us up there with you.
Yeah, look, I don't mean to take the easy way out on this, and I'm not refreshing as we know it's 10 o'clock, but it's Dallas.
Okay,
because, this is, how many
Harris
votes are coming out?
What about Harris?
What about Harris County?
Yeah, so we've got this is the early vote from Harris County here. Crockett leading this by 8 points. So yes, I think this is a county that Crockett needs to win. I think she needs to win this, county by several points. I think when we looked at this one going in, it looked sort of like a toss-up, like a swing county. I think this is one, if Tallarico is winning this, Tallarico is feeling great about where he is statewide. This is early vote. So yeah, what happens here? Now, the warning I got to give you on Harris County is they're notorious for giving you the early vote, and then the next day you get the same day, like 2 a.m. you get the same day vote. So let's see.
Okay, we will see. We're hanging out with you.
Guys, we got Crenshaw. Do you want to see it?
Yes, go.
Let's go. Yes.
Do we ever?
Okay. Wow. Wow. Okay. This is Montgomery County. The Woodlands.
Wow.
This is the early vote. Again, this is Toth-based. I apologize. I've been saying it wrong. I only read these names on paper sometimes. But look at this. A monster margin in the early vote over the incumbent. 28 points. This is Toth-based Montgomery. This is Harris. The other half, he's also leading the early vote there. What that means is 60% of the vote is in this district, and it's a 7,500 vote margin, nearly a 20-point margin.
It's basically no votes in that
Crenshaw
district.
Would need to win the same-day vote.
Look at the vote totals in that district.
Mother of all landslides if he's going to catch Toth at this point. Remember, Crenshaw, the only Republican without Trump's endorsement, incumbent in the House side in Texas.
Bro, look at the vote totals.
Starting to look like he needed it.
Steve Kornacki delivering the
He's
drama.
losing by 18 points, and it's like
Ryan,
18,000
this goes back to your
votes.
point about a purity test.
That's nuts.
We talked about it on the Democratic side. But
Yes.
We got
our political system.
And
is
another
just
race
a
you can
hot
check in
mess.
on too
It really
is the
is.
Green-Menifee race. We haven't checked in there since that Harris vote.
Guys, I think we should just dwell on this for a minute here, though, because that's. Wow, what a mission. Let me zoom in
Look
a little
at that.
bit more. But wow,
He's
this
losing by
is a big moment. We
7,000
went
votes.
into tonight saying, are we going to see
7,000
no Cornyn's in trouble on the
votes is
Senate side? Are we going to
18%?
see House candidates? Are we going to see House incumbents, lose?
All right.
Look at this Crenshaw result here. I mean, again, I'm just 9 points in Harris.
How did the cows vote?
28 points in Montgomery County. Again, we think probably 50. Well, we think about
How did Crenshaw
55%
do
comes
with the
from here,
crop
about
vote?
45% comes from here. Although I'll tell you, the turnout number in Montgomery, this might end up punching above its weight tonight. There might be more that comes out of Montgomery
it was them
than
barns.
comes out of
It
Harris.
was them
but
barns.
that is
The barn vote.
I'm
He
curious,
lost
is our
the
decision
barn
desk
vote,
saying-
and that's what
saying
killed
anything on this
Crenshaw.
one?
The barn vote.
Okay, well, what our decision, and I asked a dumb question, because what our decision desk obviously needs to do right now and is waiting to do is to make sure that when we start to get same-day vote in Montgomery County and in Harris County, it doesn't look totally different than what
told
you're
Dan
seeing
Crenshaw
there.
he
Crenshaw
needed
would
to
need
appeal
to be
to the
winning that
pickup
same-day
trucks,
vote,
and he didn't do
again,
it.
by 25, 30 points. That's what he would need to be doing. Wow, that really shrinks when I hit that button. He would need to be winning that same-day vote by like 25, 30 points. if he wants to undo the margin that Toth has run up here in the early vote. If he doesn't do that, then we have an incumbent being defeated for renomination on the Republican side. That would be Dan Crenshaw from the northern Houston suburbs. Okay, we will monitor that, and please, the minute we get any same-day vote out of there, let's watch that one.
Man,
Was there something you told me before that?
Yeah, the other incumbent we're watching, Al Green in Texas 18.
You thought Dan Crenshaw would probably would have appealed to all of the
This is
Cowboy
Christian
hats,
Menifee,
but...
Al Green. Again, you remember this race? These are the two Democrats pitted against each other. Menifee elected 5 weeks ago. Al Green elected long time before 5 weeks ago. The district is mainly Harris County, but what we saw happen earlier was the early vote came in from Fort Bend County. This is the sort of south of Houston suburbs here. Green winning there 2-1 over Menifee. Then you go across the border into Harris County. This is where most of the vote is. And now you got, look at that, Menifee with an almost 20-point advantage in the early vote only, and Harris County. And so it adds up now to Menifee taking, it does this, loves to do this. Menifee taking a 6-point lead over Green.
I ain't worried about Menifee.
Again, look, if Menifee is winning the same day vote in Harris County, anything like he just did in the early vote there.
He's not getting me to okey doke with that.
I'm thinking and trying to talk out loud.
This is an interesting comment. Reese is going to be cussing up a storm if Jasmine loses.
But Green, I think with that Fort Bend, I think that's
I'm going to have some thoughts
on
it.
There. Maybe a little bit more competitive in this than some folks were expecting. I think a lot of folks looked at this. I think there was some conventional wisdom in this race.
It's going to be
Green was a goner. This was going to be an easy win for Menifee. Look, Menifee getting a very, very big number for himself there in that early vote. It does pull him ahead by 6 points. You would rather be Menifee than Green here.
That's true.
This is like a drinking game.
They count on us not showing up.
Let's see what that same day vote looks like. But let's see what that same day vote looks like. Do we have anything more in the congressional races in Texas, Adam?
Bear came in for the Republican
We need to see this.
Huge,
I just moved from Texas about 6 months ago. We're nice to turn blue this time.
We're still in Houston. I got to go.
Teresa, that might have been it.
Too,
yeah.
You leaving might have been
it. So I've been hyping this like crazy, and we got it.
Thank you, Teresa.
Big moment. Remember, I said that Bexar County, half the district, is Gonzalez getting close to a 10-point win out of this? He's at 8. Oh, my goodness. So in 2024, when Tony Gonzalez beat Brandon Herrera by this much in this district, he won the Bexar County. This is by far the biggest part of the district, half the vote. He won it by 8 points. He won Bexar County by 8 points in 2024 and just got by district. It was just enough. And in the early vote tonight, that's 7.5 points. You want to round it up to 8, say he is right. He would like to be 10 points or more ahead in Bexar County here to give himself a little bit of a cushion. But that puts him in the game at least in the early vote. At least in the early vote, Gonzalez is getting enough to be competitive out of Bexar County. Again,
if Gonzalez
wins, we have a little bit more here. Okay, Medina County next door. Now, this is interesting. I want to make sure I get the number right here.
I'm doing that video. Don't worry about that. But
arguably, believe it or not, I might have hyped the wrong county. This is probably going to be 15% of the vote, okay? Right here, west of Bexar County. These together are the two biggest parts of this district.
15% of the vote. It's a 1 on the
won
screen.
This county by 5 points over Gonzalez in 2024. Strike that. I saw that. Gonzalez is leading by 5 right now. Herrera won it by 2 points in 2024. Okay, but this is better for Gonzalez than the result was for him in the second largest piece of real estate in Texas 23.
Ain't nothing but real estate.
From 2024 for Gonzalez. So in the early vote, he's at level in Bexar. He is net improvement next door. Okay, the second biggest piece of it now.
And it's 81%. It's 81% in, and it's one's on the screen.
And this is where Gonzalez had won in 2024.
39%.
And he's trailing in the early vote here. So one way of looking at this, he might be trading Medina and Uvalde. They might cancel each other out, and he's right where he was in 2024 in Bexar County. That's so far looking at these three, at least in the early vote. you're looking at a very close race district-wide. You see Gonzalez ahead there, overall district-wide. Again,
They
just
ain't
by
even at
having Bear
1,000. They're 39%.
and some blank spaces in the rest of the county, Bear right now is making up a much bigger share of the overall pool of votes. These other counties will fill in, but that's why Gonzalez has that advantage right now, overall district-wide. Very, very interesting there. And again, I feel a little bit like what I just said about that Green race on the Democratic side in the Houston area, where I think a lot of people had looked at Green and said, it's not going to be much of a race. He's going to get run out, run out of Dodge. Well, he's putting up a fight there tonight. And I think Gonzalez clearly putting up a fight here in Texas 23, despite I think there was a lot of expectation, that's sort of the conventional wisdom, if you will. I think had Gonzalez as the pronounced underdog in this race. I say the conventional wisdom, like I probably helped contribute to it too. So, but again, this is the early vote. Let's see what the same day looks like. So, do we have other congressional races, or should I go back to the Senate race?
Maybe go back to the Senate race.
Okay, let's go back to the Senate race here. Again, just check in on the Republican side here. Did we get any more significant pieces of real estate since we last checked in?
We got 7,000 votes out of Liberty. You covered the
Did we do
Medina
Bexar County on the Republican side?
Yeah.
So you folks know that's Bexar County on the Republican side there. Yeah. Again, in the early vote there. We can go next door, Medina. And again, I think one thing that we're seeing here, Waco, Dallas, Lubbock, Amarillo. Look over here, Midland, Friday Night Lights area, right? You're seeing these metro, the sort of hubs. Even it's very close here, but even Harris County, where Houston is, you're seeing in a lot of these sort of small population centers, Corpus Christi, you're seeing Cornyn win the early vote in those places, okay? And you're seeing the strength for Paxton. I think when you get a little bit outside those areas, very small places, but look at a place, smaller. Kerr is not that small, actually. But look, you go outside here. I'm going to take some small counties. Again, individually, these are small, but just, these will add up. And you could see here consistently, pretty solid leads. Not here, pretty solid leads for Paxton in these counties. So it's like we're drawn to the population centers instinctively because there's more familiarity with those things. Oh, and we also have Webb County, right? Paxton leading the early vote down there. But again, I think that this is interesting. The total number of votes. Webb County's big. Webb County's Laredo. And this is the area of Texas that we talked about as
Hey, Wesley got
Trump has made these
261.
50-point gains in presidential elections
Wesley
down
got
here in deep
261.
South Texas along
He
the border.
must have family
He's
in Webb
become
County.
competitive. He's won some of these counties. He won some of these counties big. One of the things to keep in mind is these counties are traditionally Democratic.
Love from
meaning
Indiana.
the
Shout out, Piper.
not the registration tab, but the loyalty to the Democratic Party, even though
Thank
they
you,
voted
Piper.
for Trump,
I appreciate
there's still
that.
a
Shout
ton
out
of
to
built-in
Indianapolis,
identity
one of my favorite
with the
places to do
Democratic
stand-up.
Party. And I think you're seeing that tonight.
Broad Ripple.
The number of people voting here in Webb County in the Republican primary, here at least in the early vote. Add that up, it's just a little bit over 2,000 right there. Let's flip over to the Democratic side. What are they looking at there in Webb County? You're looking at 17,000 votes. On the Democratic side. You really see that traditional association of the voters in deep South Texas, even though they become very warm toward Donald Trump.
Dad.
A lot more warm toward
Thank
Trump
you.
than other Republicans.
That.
You're not seeing it in turnout in this Republican primary.
Steph,
so I show you
back.
Webb
I appreciate
in the Democratic
you.
race,
Thank
and
you.
it's a very big deal.
You're the only
I show
one
you Webb in the Republican race, and much
Uncle
less
Reese.
so just
Much
in
love.
terms of the
You know
weight
what that
the
means.
county has with that vote. But anyway,
you know what that means. Thank you. I appreciate
you
that.
can see what is happening there. So take a look back again.
That's
statewide
soap
here
operas.
hasn't changed too much since we last looked at it. Which means
My shows, that ain't nothing but soap operas.
Nothing new in North Carolina 4. I can talk a little bit about the Republican Senate race.
Let's go, Crockett.
We get small election day votes
Giants
around all
fan
these
says
counties.
go blue.
So we're about cumulatively up to about
This is the only time
20,000,
anybody yell go blue.
election day votes
Election time.
in the Republican Senate primary.
Yes.
These counties are
So
smaller than my
currently in
Exactly,
election
Howard.
day, Paxton's leading
You know what I mean?
45-37 over Cornyn. And
They out here
based on
putting
our
up,
records, the early vote was 44 Cornyn,
NBA
41
Finals
Paxton.
numbers, 4 to
Did you
2.
get that? They can't hear
won
you,
4 to
right?
3.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
What Adam just said is wow. It's okay.
Like the Latin version of
It's
Zach Galifianakis.
a small
The dude
sample
running
there.
against Gonzalez.
But if yes, what you're essentially looking at here.
I appreciate you, Baltimore.
This
Throw a
is
little something on the fire.
Or it's not all early voting, as Adam just told you.
Jasmine.
But
We've
I think
seen
you're
a lot
seeing,
of that energy.
Cornyn.
We've seen a lot
obviously
of
the
that
slight
energy.
advantage now. I think if you filled everything in with all the early vote, there's more opportunities here for Paxton in these small counties to shake things up. But
thank you,
the possibility that Adam's hinting not hinting, he's just saying, is that as this same day comes in, this is going to change, and that Paxton's going to be able to leapfrog Cornyn if that is the trend. And we're going to need a lot more vote to say that. But if that is the trend, then Paxton really can leapfrog Cornyn here and maybe take a lead or open up some kind of lead on him. And I think that really is the game here on the Republican side. Our decision desk has not called this race. And what time is it right now? It's 9:30. Our decision desk has not called this race, but I think you can clearly see here the likelihood of a runoff between Cornyn and Paxton. And I think the dynamics in that runoff so much may be sort of dependent on.
Hey, it says too early to call, Steve.
What does it look like
Wesley,
at the end? I'm trying to say
give Wesley some time.
In other words, if Cornyn ends up winning,
56% left.
Leading Paxton
Give Wesley some time.
At the end of the vote tonight and going into a runoff, that's strong.
I don't like the way they're doing Wesley over there.
And if you're
they don't
Cornyn
never talk
and
about
you've been
the
trying
black
to get
vote or
Trump's
nothing
endorsement, trying to get Trump off the sidelines, if you could walk out of the night and say, hey, look, I got to a runoff and I got the most votes in the preliminary, and hey, these Democrats are making a ton of noise about winning the seat in November, maybe that could get Trump interested. Maybe that could get Trump to come in and make an endorsement that clearly he's been reluctant to make, and that maybe Cornyn's chances of actually winning in a runoff would depend on. Conversely,
you know what?
If Paxton is able to
somebody
overtake
said Nancy
Cornyn
Mace should have been on the investigation. I owe Nancy Mace a video
by performing significantly better in the same day vote. If Paxton were to emerge today with a sizable advantage
with Nancy Mace, I got to do it in rule of threes. I can't turn around everything that happens, but it's been 3 scandals since the video, and now she's talking spicy.
Trying to help me a 4-term Senate incumbent leapfrog somebody who just got significantly more votes than me in a primary. To do that in a runoff, that's a much tougher sell to make. So what Adam said is very interesting there, and I think even more than sort of the county by county results right now in this race, I think that's the big thing is I'm going to just be asking you, and I'm going to be updating folks. Do we have any more that's come in since I've been talking?
Yeah, it's a little bit here and there. It's tough to say because they don't get categorized right as they come in a lot of these areas. So it's tough to keep a cumulative total, but I'll keep you updated on that.
Yeah.
We've gotten a few more counties in Texas 23 if you want to check.
Okay, we got more in 23.
Very small votes, but.
So again, it's a net 10-point shift is what Adam's describing in that Senate race toward Paxton in the same day vote. Small sample size there. Okay, we got more in Texas 23. Okay, we probably got some real small stuff here, huh? Okay. We got the early vote. I know you were waiting for this one, folks. We got the Frio early vote. We got we got 199 votes total. A difference of 15 between Gonzalez and Herrera. I told you there's a couple population centers in here, but we do have, I think, Brewster.
37% of the vote is in.
Yeah, there's about 10,000 people who live in Brewster County. We got the early vote here. It's about 400 votes here, but we got the early vote here. This is one that Herrera won. Herrera won this, just so you know, in 2024. Herrera won here big. He's leading big in the early vote. What did he win this by? Okay. That was a little interesting. I think this could end up being 3% of the vote in this district. Herrera won this by Brewster by 30 points in the 2024 primary. He's winning it by 20 in the early vote here tonight. So that's interesting. Do we have any other? Just looking if we have any big ones here. Valverde is what this is. This is the biggest outstanding place here. The slice of El Paso is very small. Valverde is going to be about 6% of the vote? Yeah, probably 6-7% of the vote is going to come out of here. I think the next update I'm interested in here, unless we start getting same day, is Valverde County. Valverde County, Herrera won big in 2024, and it's the biggest piece that we don't have some same day or some Valverde. But again, overall here in Texas 23, where Tony Gonzalez is fighting for his political life, he leads by 6 with early vote, about half the vote in right there. Do we have any same day in Texas too? Is that worth checking in on?
No, nothing's come in.
I mean, this is like this is one where it may not take much same day, if you know what I mean. North Carolina 4. Do we have anything? I don't want to forget North Carolina 4. We do. We have Wake. Folks, we've been waiting on Wake. Okay. Fushi is leading by 5 here in North Carolina 4, 73%. And there it is. Okay, so this is the early vote in Wake County, right? And this is a slice of Wake County here. The early vote has Fushi up 2.5 points in Wake County. It is enough to have her ahead, as you see here, district-wide by 5. But, Adam, is this one where we can check in on the same day, election day split?
Yeah, I can check in on that. So right now, election day split, we have about 23,000 votes, total votes for election day. We have Alam 51, Fushi 46, and the early vote, Fushi 53, Alam 45.
Okay, so you had an 8-point advantage for Fushi in the early vote across this district. We have the early vote from everywhere. That's what getting that piece of Wake in means. An 8-point advantage for Fushi. Now, the early vote, we think, is bigger than the same-day vote. There's more in this bucket than there is in this bucket, okay? So an 8-point advantage for Fushi from the bigger bucket, and currently a 5-point advantage for Alam in the smaller bucket. And that's why that nets out with what did I do to lose the vote there? Okay, and that nets out district-wide with about 3/4 of the vote in to a 5-point advantage for Fushi over Alam. I don't mean to put Adam, my beloved producer, on the spot, but do we have that broken out by county at all? Is that possible?
Yeah, what county are you looking for?
Okay, I would like Durham.
Yeah, so Durham, we have 10,000 election day votes. Alam winning that 55-44. And the early in person is about 30,000 votes, and that's a 2-point Fushi, 50-48.
What is the expected vote out of Durham County? Do we have
Durham,
that?
we're expecting 54,800.
So we think 45. We think there's about 9,000 votes.
That's right.
About 9,000 votes left, and Alam is winning these at about a 10-point clip. A little. Alam might be able to net another 900,000 vote at this pace. Might be able to net another 900 to 1,000 votes out of.
We just got some more vote in there too.
Durham. Okay, yeah, and she's trailing by 3,500. Where did the new vote come from?
We got Chatham, Durham, and Orange. About 900 votes from Chatham, 5,000 from Durham, and 2,000 from Orange.
Okay, let's go through these one at a time. How did the votes that just came in Chatham break?
So Chatham, Fushi got 539 votes, Alam 317.
So that's interesting. That's same-day vote that Fushi's winning.
Yeah.
Okay, in chat, she's doing well here. Okay, Fushi's doing well here. You said Durham.
Yeah, Durham was 4,700 votes. Alam wins that 59-40.
Ah, okay.
And Orange was the last one, 1,600 votes.
Yeah.
And Fushi's netting out of that one. She's winning at 48-46.
So Fushi just won 2 same-day batches, one from Chatham, one from Orange. But Alam just won a big batch from Durham by a larger margin than she'd been winning it by. And it has, so the net effect, that was a big batch. The biggest batch was Durham, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait,
Okay.
MS now
so that
reporting
puts
3 counties in
Alam
Texas
now
extended
inside
voting.
of 4
Again?
points behind Fushi. And
they extended it again?
I want to, do you have a new running total for the same day out of Durham based on that? It was 55-44.
Wait a minute.
She just won at 59-40.
Yeah, it's 56-42.
Did they extend it past 9?
And we think
I'm expecting to get some information in 13 minutes.
Just for Durham?
Yeah.
It's still about 9,000.
11 p.m. for 2 counties?
So if she were able to win, she just won that by almost 20 points.
Can we confirm
if she could win the rest of the vote coming out of Durham, and do we have any same day out of Wake?
Can we confirm that? It's 11 p.m. for 2 counties?
Little unclear coming out of Durham here. That last batch was really good for Alam. If she were to win the rest of the vote out of Durham by a similar margin, she could cut off half of this Fushi advantage right here. But what Fushi just got out of Orange and Chatham was really good news. And again, for
It's
her.
a couple people.
And
let me see.
We are waiting same day in Wake. So bit of a mixed bag right there. But I think again, this is one. I don't know. If folks were looking at this race and saying, the energy was on the alum side because of what we'd seen in some other primaries. I think it was that New Jersey one we covered a couple weeks ago here. Fushi, we said this about Gonzalez in Texas. Said this a little bit about Green in Texas, and I think we say about Fushi very in this game with 80% of the vote now in there. We'll come back to that. Let's go back
extended
over to
voting
Texas.
until 9.
The Senate race is the star here, right? Both sides. So we're at 45%. I think we just got
I'm seeing 9. I'm not seeing 11
here in the Democratic race. Is that right?
Voting extended 2 hours.
Bunch of small updates since the last time we checked.
I'm seeing 9. I'm not seeing 11
anywhere. Same day early split on the Democratic side.
Yeah, a little bit less overall, but I can give you an update. So right now we have about 10,000 votes indexed on the Democratic side. In the election
I'm
day
seeing
vote,
extended till 9. I'm not seeing extended to 11. I'm not seeing anywhere extended. I'm on NBC 5
I'll try
Dallas
to check in what counties exactly.
I don't see
we know
11
what that batch was.
But that's that update.
If we have a comparison for the early, but that's very small. So very, very little on the same day front there, and we're getting close to 10. So we can start talking about
updated
this.
10 seconds ago. Their videos.
We're 10 minutes away from 10 o'clock right now.
Article says,
and I put this in the back of my mind. Maybe you did too, but it's time to stop.
Like their
Dallas
most recent
County,
one. So
we may get numbers from.
I don't know if y'all was
10 minutes from now. I don't know how this.
I'm not
this
seeing
delay
11 anywhere.
Has affected tabulation, but I can tell you
Where
that in
y'all
the
seeing
2024
11?
presidential
I'm not seeing
election, Dallas County released 580,000 early votes at 8 o'clock on the dot. 8 o'clock was when polls closed. It was the earliest they could do it.
I know,
they released
right?
all of their early vote right then. So poll closing was delayed in Dallas County.
Can somebody
from 8 to 10
direct me
because of
to
that
where
issue of voters
it says 11
needing to go to
anywhere
precincts
online?
And many of them not being aware of that, just confusion, lots of confusion. So the new poll closing time is 10 minutes from now. And again, you see what happens. We get, 3/4 of the vote, 2/3 of the vote in these counties right away. The significance of that is this.
Oh, it's people's time zone
put
difference?
this in statewide context. Talarico is leading Crockett
whose
right now. Again, in the early vote here by about 80,000 votes. I guess it's just about
No.
only early vote that you're
11
looking at.
Eastern is 10 in
We've
Texas.
talked about the different
It was
contours in this
extended
race.
till
but look,
9
we've got
in
Bexar
Texas,
County where San
which would
Antonio
be
is.
10
We've
Eastern.
got Travis County
That's
where
what I'm
Austin
waiting on.
is. We've got Harris County where Houston is.
That's what I'm waiting on.
We're still waiting on McAllen, but we've got some of the big
would be in the
population
ocean.
centers
So
there.
that's why
in
I'm
South
trying to figure out
Texas.
who's got 11.
We are waiting on El Paso. That's probably 3%, 4% of the vote on the Democratic side. The biggest single thing we're waiting for on this
that's
map
my point.
is
Texas
Dallas County.
Yeah,
How big
that's my
Dallas
point.
County
It's extended till 9, which is 10 Eastern,
could be,
which
let's
is 9 minutes from
estimate
now.
12%.
Not 11.
Somewhere in the neighborhood of
11
12%
does not compute
of all
in any way.
votes that are going to be cast
So
across
that's
the
what I'm trying to figure out,
254 counties of Texas are going to come out of Dallas County. And Dallas County is the home of Jasmine Crockett. So an hour or two ago, I've lost track of the time.
10 minutes. That's
in
what I'm talking about.
Travis
That's
County,
9.
James
their
Talarico's
time,
home
10
county,
my time.
which is,
Where's
turns out
11?
generally a slightly
What y'all talking
smaller
about
number
11?
of votes
That's
than
what I'm
Dallas
trying to
County. I
figure
don't know
out.
exactly how that's going to look with all the turnout issues they've had in
11
Dallas
is in
County
the
today.
ocean.
But
So
typically,
what y'all
these are
talking about?
almost comparable in size in terms of votes in a Democratic
It's
primary.
it's
Dallas
11
County is
p.m.
bigger
in
than
the
Travis
ocean.
County.
Like, what-
Travis County,
what y'all
though,
talking about?
massively Democratic, massive turnout. And you see what that did for Talarico. He
No,
was able to
I
get
don't think it's
3/4 of
any
the
11.
vote,
I ain't seen
and he
11
was
no
able to net 71,000 votes there over Crockett. Now, again, statewide, look at Talarico's advantage over Crockett. It's basically Travis County. It's Travis County in change. That's the lead that Talarico has over Crockett statewide. And Crockett has the ability here out of Dallas County potentially to
11 will be
deliver.
Puerto
I
Rico.
said
Yeah.
this.
Y'all
Talarico
using Puerto
delivered a
Rico
punch
time?
with Travis. She can punch right back with
Y'all
Dallas
using Puerto
County.
Rico time?
That's the opportunity she has.
Oh, y'all
Less
was just
than
hoping
10
there
minutes
was
now
some
when the
people waiting
polls
to
do
vote that was in
close
the chat
in
that you
Dallas
could
County.
discourage by
It's her
convincing them
home.
it got
She's
pushed to
expected to
11.
do well. She's expected to do very well there.
That's a
And
real
it's
long shot.
It's a massive source of votes. Harris County has the most in the state. That's 15%. Dallas County is going to probably have the second most in the state, probably about 12% of the vote. I've been talking about the benchmarks that I've got for these Democratic candidates in different counties, and I can tell you that the benchmark that I have for Crockett out of Dallas County is 70%. So, that's Talarico in his home, got 76, netted 71,000, and there, lo and behold, that's his lead. That's just about all of his lead right now. You could trace back to Travis County. Crockett, Dallas County, a little bit bigger than Travis. Benchmark, 70%. I don't know. They've not always lined up with what's happened, but that's the kind of number that Crockett's looking for when Dallas County releases, and it'll be the early vote. It'll be the lion's share of the vote out of Dallas County, but there will still be same-day vote to come. And that is the piece of it that we're trying to figure out. We're starting to see a little bit of on the Republican side in that Senate race. How different does the same-day vote look than the election day vote?
The totals would then be available at 10
in the last 5 minutes.
Central. Them totals need to be available
There's a little bit
at 9
developing
Central.
right now
That's when them
out
totals
of Dallas.
need to be available.
So the Texas Supreme Court temporarily blocked the earlier ruling to keep the polls open till 9. So there's a big question. There's question marks about those ballots those votes that have been cast since the original closing time, and now unclear of how it'll affect reporting or the
them
results.
totals need to be available at 9. That's
so
when
the
them
Texas
totals.
Supreme
Not
Court
all
temporarily
of them,
blocked
you
the
better
earlier
give me
ruling
something
that we talked about earlier. And
y'all ain't been
one to
sitting
keep it to
around
10.
doing nothing all day.
Yes. Okay.
Y'all better give me
so
something.
They're trying to figure out, I guess, now what to do legally with the ballots that have been cast or the votes that have been cast in that extended period.
Okay, in this 2 hour. Okay, so do we have? So, and we don't know then if they're going. That means.
Yeah, it's just.
That sounds like they're not going to.
It's playing out right now.
Yeah, y'all know part of Texas is that mountain time, right? I do.
This is the danger.
That's what Frio.
Feel free to cut me off next time when I start going down that road.
That's Frio. That's where they were putting up the basketball scores.
Okay, good.
Dan
now I don't feel
Crenshaw
as
situation.
Well, okay, I wasn't that far behind
that.
the news, folks. Maybe you've read about it. Maybe you've seen it yourself. This has happened in the last couple minutes, but you just heard my producer explaining it. We'll restate it once more because it's very important, and it's also the way he's explaining it to me. This is the kind of question sometimes that can linger in terms of challenges and stuff after. The polls closed at 8 o'clock across Texas, except in Dallas County, and only on the Democratic side in Dallas County. The way it works in Texas is very unique from other states, and that is that the two parties can run these primaries jointly. They can administer them jointly, but they don't have to. And in Dallas County, that's what happened. The tradition in Dallas County has been that the two parties run them jointly, and what they've done is they've had these county voting centers that you could go to. You didn't have to worry about finding an exact precinct and going to the exact correct precinct on election day. You went to the county voting center, you voted, and that was it. That worked that way for the Democratic and for the Republican primaries. The Republicans in Dallas County, Texas, said they did not want to do it that way this year. They wanted to go to a precinct-based system. So this applied to what happened for the Republicans. The Republicans have reported out vote from Dallas County tonight, but they essentially set up their own, and the Democrats were left to set up their own. And so this based on precincts, based on voters having to now go to these individual precincts. And there were reports all throughout the day of voters on the Democratic side who were showing up at where they'd traditionally gone, being told, well, this is no longer your precinct. You got to find your precinct. All of that confusion. So there was a court ruling to keep the polls open in Dallas County till 10 p.m. Now a higher court has stepped in and invalidated that. And so the question is, these last 2 hours, while voters have been casting votes after 8 p.m., they've cast them. A higher court has stepped in. What's the status of those votes? What are they considered? Do they put them, and what do they do in terms of reporting out the votes from before 8 o'clock? Do they put the ones that were cast since 8 aside and report out what came earlier? Do they put everything aside and wait for so you're probably following, if you're watching this, you're super engaged in this, and you're trying to answer these questions too. You're trying to figure this out. We are too. And Adam, if you want to just read any guidance we get, if you want to just see anything we have from our reporters,
Corruption
please do
101.
so. Tell me. Because again, this primary, I don't want to say it's too early to say that it hinges on Dallas County, but you can see what I'm describing there. In terms of the singular importance of Dallas County to what's left here. Because I'm just looking, what else do we have here in terms of the big population centers on the Democratic side that we haven't yet heard from? Well, yeah, El Paso's 4% of the vote, on the Democratic side. And again, just based on what we're seeing throughout South Texas here, El Paso is very much demographically in line with what you're going to see. I think there's an expectation that Talarico is going to do very well in El Paso County. We've got, Brazoria County. This is in that greater Houston area. This is pretty good size here, outside of, just outside of Houston, where we don't have anything from there yet. I showed you Beaumont, right? It's next door here. Jefferson County. This is up here, Bowie County. This is where Texarkana is. I think this will be a decent size. It's small, but there's a large black population. You'd expect Crockett to be doing very well here. But again, I'm just looking for the major population centers or significant population centers that we haven't heard from. A big one also. This is a huge one right outside of Austin. This is in Talarico's wheelhouse too, Williamson County here. Just north of Austin here, very Democratic and very, this is, again, just we're seeing him do extremely well down here. So look, I think Talarico is going to get a big boost out of Williamson. I think he's going to get a boost out of El Paso County. There are some other areas as we fill in the rest of South Texas here. Don't forget, this is where McAllen is, Hidalgo County. This is another big one. You could certainly be a shock right now if Talarico doesn't win that big. There are several areas here where Talarico, I think, is pretty clearly going to pad that margin. And that margin has inched up a bit here since the last time we checked in. It was sitting there.
Stand by for News Now, yeah.
Okay, we're going to do a News Now hit.
Yep.
Okay, folks, they're resetting on News Now, and they're going to come over here in a second. Okay. Let me just. I have to ask a question about the guidance we just got to my producer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everything I've seen, yeah.
Okay. Okay. We're waiting here to go on News Now, probably in about 90 seconds. So I'll complete the thought. And we don't have anything from Texas 2.
The only thing we got recently, we got a little more election day out of Fort Bend County, which affects the Green Menifee race.
Didn't get anything?
We small
Bros writing letters.
How did the election day, how was that breaking?
So 300 new votes in Fort Bend, 218 for Green, 87 for Menifee.
Okay.
And that was the county he was doing better.
Yeah, right. Okay, so now he's going to have to. He's going to have to I was just telling you about the Al Green race in Houston 18. We have about a minute. I just wanted to complete the thought here. It is when you look at what's left here in the early vote, you do see some clear opportunities here for Talarico to pad this margin. And again, it's just ticked up a little bit. A lot of it is from small, counties just kind of filling in. But it's ticked up since we really started talking about Dallas County a few minutes ago. It was in the 70s at that point. Now it's up to 82,000. So, again, huge question mark around Dallas County, all the reasons we were just saying. I think this really, when you look at the rest of this map, when we do get numbers out of Dallas County, I had set a benchmark of 70, for Crockett. That might need to be revised up for her. I think she may need something bigger than that to offset what you're seeing from Talarico and some of these other places. But I'm just, I think they're coming to me here in a second. So I'm just.
Shout out, no gaslighting.
Let me
send some love if you receive that gift.
Same day.
You do a video about how Smoothie King tried it. Smoothie King?
Yeah, let me look for the latest update.
I don't know about that story.
So we're up to 33,000.
Send me an email about that Chariot of Fire.
43. Yep. Cornyn 40.
Okay. So it's and do you have the comp for?
Oh, 43, 40.
That was the early.
That was the early, yeah.
For Cornyn.
I would love to see that.
Flip. Yeah. Okay.
I'd love to see anybody unseat Ted Cruz. Thank you, Rod.
Okay. Folks, folks on the live stream, I'm sorry to keep you waiting. But we're about to go live. We're going to talk about both of these races. In North Carolina 4?
Nothing in North Carolina for.
Kilgore, try
we
harder,
got 1,000 votes out of El Paso.
Yes, progressive, but Jasmine just as much. No. Never underestimate.
Oh, we got more than
just for Texas 23. We should have more of it overall. Yep.
Folks, we were saying Tallarico should get it out. Look at that. Add another 10,000 to his pad over Crockett, El Paso. Again, totally in line with what we're seeing there with him in the Hispanic vote.
And in Texas,
all right, they're still doing the races on news now. So we got.
Are they going to a hit or no?
Yeah, again.
Sorry.
Somebody keeps saying stand by, but they're not.
I understand.
They keep saying they pump faking. They pump faking, Steve.
I'm sorry, folks. They're still in the thing.
They pump
El Paso.
Thank you for
tracking all of it here. Steve, take your pick. There's a bunch of stuff that's been interesting that's developed here. Obviously, the Senate race, what's happening in Dallas. We may want to start there, but can we also talk about some of these House races?
Yeah.
What's up with Dan Crenshaw? What's up here with Tony Gonzalez, too?
Yeah, look, Gonzalez is in the game there in 23. I'll call that one up right here.
Sure.
The way this is gigantic geographically, this district, but the majority of the population is right here. This is Bexar County. Okay, this is San Antonio metro area here. Early vote, and this is the early vote that you're looking at right here. This is half the district just in this slice of the county. Gonzalez is leading this by, it's 7.5. You want to round it up to 8 points. That's the exact same margin he won this county by in 2024 when he beat Herrera by this much. And if you look at some of the other counties right here, you're seeing a lot of stuff that kind of, it's looking right now in the early vote there like it's close like it was in 24. So I think a lot of folks looked at Gonzalez maybe because of the scandal as a goner coming into tonight, but he's certainly putting up a fight. The incumbent right now, who you definitely do not want to be, is Dan Crenshaw calling up that race. It is where it stood when I last talked to you. And I'll zoom in on the area here. We're in the northern Houston suburbs here, okay? This district covers some of Harris County, small part of Harris County. That is where Houston is, but this is suburbs here. This is early vote. Toth, the challenger, leading there, high single digits. And then Montgomery County here, Toth's base. Look at this, nearly a 30-point margin in the early vote. Crenshaw, what we're waiting on here, the reason you're looking at this and you're saying, well, how come there's no check mark or anything? The decision desk here wants to see, this is what we do for every race, what the same-day vote looks like. That's only early vote you're looking at. They want to make sure, it may seem unlikely, but they want to make sure that Crenshaw isn't winning the same-day vote by like 30 points. Something, I mean, he would have to be winning it by 25, 30 points, something like that. Enough to offset that massive advantage that his challenger has gotten. So when we start getting early vote,
only early vote,
anything at all like it did in the same day,
56%
same day vote. If it looks anything at all like we got in the early vote, that's probably it for Crenshaw.
That's wild.
All right, Steve, can we check out what's happening with the Tallarico Crockett race?
Yeah.
Obviously, that's one we're watching really closely.
Yes. So, and again, this
Their
number,
voting
you
lines
see
must
the
look like a
margin
grocery
that
store in the middle of the
just
afternoon. Wasn't nobody in there.
All of this, again, is early vote. We barely have any of the same day vote in. You know, always looking to see if that looks different. But in the early vote, we've been watching this number creep up. This is the margin Tallarico has over Crockett. Now sits at 93,000. This has gone up about 15,000 votes just in the last 5 minutes. Why is that? Well, a big piece of real estate came in, big in terms of population. That's out in the West Texas town of El Paso. James Tallarico with a 27-point advantage over Crockett in the early vote there out of El Paso. This is like 3 or 4% of all the vote in the Democratic primary is coming out of El Paso County. It's not a surprise to see this after what else we've seen along the border and in South Texas, but that's 10,000 votes. That's a 10,000 vote plurality for Tallarico. You know, again, that puts them up 93,000 statewide. What it means is when everything gets sorted out in Dallas County, and I know that looks like an incredibly complicated situation right now.
Well, I was just going to say, Steve, a holy complication, holy potential for a long night /day/days plural.
Yeah, and I mean, we were just talking through here. I mean, what do you do? The vote that was cast in the last 2 hours, do they put it aside? Do they release everything else? Do they not release any? So I have no idea, and I'm hoping you guys maybe can fill in some of the blanks. But the point is, when we do see that vote,
let me let Ryan Noble jump in here.
So, Steve, I guess the question would be, obviously Dallas and that county are crucial to Crockett. So what kind of margin are we talking about that Tallarico would have to bank that would make whatever vote count doesn't necessarily, is contested in some way, shape, or form because of this court battle? How big of a margin would he have to go in where ultimately that wouldn't matter? I mean, the votes will get counted at some point or not counted, but is there a margin in which he would feel comfortable enough that he wouldn't have to worry about that outstanding vote that's being haggled over in court?
Yeah, you know what? In fact, we can, Adam, what's the current expected vote out of Dallas County? Because I can give you, if you'll bear with me here for 30 seconds, we can get you a number here.
Steve, I'm going to jump in because I want to there's some court action that's happened in literally the last couple of minutes here. And I want to get to our team on the ground now in Texas because it is essentially now not clear whether the votes cast after the original poll close time are going to count. Let me go to Tallarico headquarters. Ryan Chandler is there. Priscilla Thompson is at Crockett.
Oh, well, okay. But now we can talk. Now we can do what I wanted to do for the News Now folks here in the stream. What is the expected vote out of Dallas? And this comes with a lot of asterisks. We don't know.
I am curious where
what
they
they're
were going
describing
with
now
that.
is we have no idea votes cast for the last 2 hours if they're even going to end up counting.
I'm curious where they were going with this one.
What I was going to say on the air.
On these ultra low turnout affairs where it's the base of the party, the kind of people who really like Ken Paxton. Corner needs, if not to win tonight, to at least keep it super duper close.
You can tell Garrett knows a little bit about Texas.
Are you from there? That's so crazy.
I've had some layovers.
Well, Garrett, it takes me to my next question because you talk about the fact that Democrats are eyeing this. I mean, Democrats.
What was y'all talking about the court situation? I only went for the courts.
Years. I remember covering the Obama administration, and they were saying we're eyeing Texas. Texas is a possibility. It has been fool's gold for Democrats. Talk a little bit about
why do they have totally different numbers than Kornacki? They got Crockett winning
tonight. Quite frankly, is a test of the issues as well, whether it's affordability or foreign
had
policy,
Tallarico winning.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, look, there's 30 million people in Texas. It's a huge
Y'all
state.
way
You've got
behind.
all these different media markets. It's also a super diverse state. And I think that's part of the reason it's been so appealing to Democrats over these
Somebody
years.
said you're not live.
About this right now and what they're seeing in Dallas County and what exactly this means for them. Because
that Tallarico would have to bank that would make whatever vote count doesn't necessarily, is contested in some way, shape, or
appreciate
form
you, Billy Ocean.
because of this court battle. How big of a
And
margin
Lord,
would he have to go in where ultimately that wouldn't matter? I mean, the votes will get counted at some point or not counted, but is there a margin in which he would feel comfortable enough that he wouldn't have to worry about that outstanding vote that's being haggled over in court?
Yeah, you know what? In fact, we can, Adam. What's the current expected vote out of Dallas County? Because I can give you, if you'll bear with me here for 30 seconds, we can get you a number here.
Steve, I'm going to jump in because I want to get, there's some court action that's happened in literally the last couple of minutes here. And I want to get to our team on the ground now in Texas because it is essentially now not clear whether the votes cast after the original poll close time are going to count. Let me go to Tallarico headquarters. Ryan Chandler is there. Priscilla Thompson is at Crockett headquarters as well in Dallas. And Priscilla, let me start with you here. Walk us through what's at play, what's happening, because this is to the point that we're making here. Again, this is all within just the last couple of minutes. This is developing into a situation there around Dallas County.
Yeah, it definitely is. So obviously we know that judge had ruled that polls could stay open until 9 p.m. local time, 10 p.m. Eastern time. And then Attorney General Ken Paxton sought to block that in the Texas Supreme Court. And the Texas Supreme Court did ultimately issue a stay saying that those votes that were cast after 7 p.m. local time needed to be separated out. So blocking that those polls would stay open. Now I'm talking to the campaign and they say that they are fighting back on this. But I will tell you, in the last hour as those early votes were coming in, they said that they were feeling good, but that Dallas County was going to be the thing that would put them over the edge. They are banking on Dallas County. And so I asked them, what does this mean in terms of the chaos that it could cause around trying to count this vote and look at these results. And they said that, quote, it's definitely a concern. So they are very worried about this right now and what they're seeing in Dallas County and what exactly this means for them. Because, of course, they had been looking at the turnout here and just saying that it was off the charts, amazing. This is her home turf, and this was going to be the county to help her bring over that victory tonight. That is what she told me. And now you have this confusion, and we don't even know what those results are going to look like coming out and how prolonged this court battle could ultimately end up being, because they said that they are definitely fighting this.
Priscilla, what's the mood there given this development? I know it's loud there, but are people reacting?
You know, I will tell you that the screens are not up in here where people are able to see what is happening with the vote. And so the mood in here is great. The energy is great. People have been coming over to my laptop to try to look at the results and to try to understand what is actually happening. So I don't think it's very clear to people in here what exactly is going on. But what I'm hearing from folks is confidence that once those big city numbers start coming in, as someone just told me, Texas is rural. So it may look like Tallarico right now has the lead, but they are waiting to see more of those big city vote counts. And of course, Dallas County, which now is sort of in limbo.
Yeah, big question mark on that. With that, then, Ryan Chandler, we'll go to you at Tallarico headquarters with a vibe check there.
You hear the screams. They're becoming more and more frequent here. I heard from somebody with the campaign. They are confident in victory tonight. Of course, Dallas is such a huge question. Something like 1 in 3 votes could come from there by the end of the night, or it could potentially go into tomorrow. We don't know. But look, regardless of what's happening in Dallas, Tallarico is feeling good. They feel confident, mostly because, and I don't want to step on Kornacki's toes here, but I'm looking at counties like Cameron. You hear screams because of counties like this down in the valley. This is a significant slice of that all-important Latino vote that we were hearing Chuck talk about. Tallarico is up down in the valley in Cameron County, 30 points. Those are the kinds of margins that make this campaign confident. They're in a good position regardless of what happens in Crockett's home turf.
Well, and are the folks there concerned, though, that what is happening in Crockett's home turf could lead to a legal challenge to whatever the results might be?
Oh, certainly. Also because this is a similar situation also played out earlier to a lesser degree in Tallarico's home turf of county just north of here, where he started his political career. I just want to make sure everybody understands the drama that we're seeing play out in Dallas right now. It's something I've never seen before. You have an unknown number of voters who were turned away and maybe came to vote after what was originally the deadline in those extra 2 hours. You also have the Attorney General, who, by the way, is also on the ballot, who is in Dallas County tonight asking the Supreme Court to put all of those untold number of votes aside. This has the potential to turn very messy. And if I were the Crockett campaign, I would be demanding a quick resolution so we figure out where those votes went.
Ryan Chandler, live for us there at Tallarico headquarters. Ryan, thank you.
Well, and I think Ryan captured it as we turn to our friends here at the table. Garrett, you are talking about a lot of votes that could potentially be in question and the messiness of it, right? I mean, right now there's a big question mark over how this is going to get resolved, when or if. What do you make of that development?
Well, look, I think it is political messiness is a problem for Jasmine Crockett tonight, but large scale, by the way, I think it's a warning for all of us in November. You've got a whole country that's going to have new districts this year, a lot of new rules, a lot of new legal frameworks for voting all around the country, a president and a party that is obsessed with the idea of election security. And here you see, I think, also the impact potentially of a Republican Attorney General here in Ken Paxton, who is also on the ballot, who also still wants Donald Trump's endorsement, involving himself in a heavily Democratic county
making a speech
on
right
election
now.
night. So there are a number of factors in play here, both
Where
sort of
can I
like,
see
again, the
Crockett's
small-term
speech?
impact on this
There we
Tallarico
go.
Crockett race, and I think sort of larger-term warning signs and a reminder for people of all the sort of things you have to watch out.
Unfortunately, this is what Republicans like to do. And so they specifically targeted Dallas County, and I think we all know why. So I I want you to enjoy yourselves, but I won't be back tonight because I have no idea of when we're going to get results, and I fully anticipate it won't be until tomorrow. So I love y'all too. Thank you so very much for being here.
That was extraordinary. Dramatic out of developments here out of Dallas County for Jasmine Crockett. And I want to get straight to Steve Kornacki on this because, Steve, I think the question now, and you heard her lay this out, she says if we don't have the results in Dallas where she's expected to do fairly well, a stronghold for her, we don't have the votes for tonight. So let me ask you, I don't know if we know, will the vote in Dallas make enough of a difference at this point in the race?
We just got the vote from Dallas. Now, we don't know if this is that whole issue of the 2-hour window you're talking about. So I want to say that, before I show you this, but we did get a substantial amount of vote in Dallas. This is the early vote. So I don't know what's going to happen in Dallas County after this, but this is the early vote. This is the vote cast before Election Day, okay, about 60%, and give or take of what the total will be. Crockett winning this by 22 points here. Now, that is a difference of 43,000 votes over Tallarico. What that does statewide, you can see that Tallarico number back down to 70,000. It had crept there up, over 110,000. In fact, she just gathered some more votes somewhere else, and it ticked down a little. But you see it brought it down to 70,000. But it is still a 70,000 vote advantage statewide for Tallarico. And that early vote out of Dallas is, we think, well over half the total vote. Whatever it ends up being, we think it's well over than half. She was able to net 43,000 plurality with well over half of it, and she still trails statewide by 70,000 votes. So even if the rest of the vote in Dallas County came in and looked just like that, she would still be well short here of that margin that Tallarico has built. I want to say I've been, our audience on streaming tonight, we have been showing benchmarks for these candidates as the counties have come in. Are they hitting the numbers they need to hit? The number we had established in Dallas County for Jasmine Crockett was 70%. This is 61%. This is her home county. This is her base here. This is where she needs to drive up the number. So in the early vote here, she's short of that. Now, again, did she have a flood of support same day? Were there ballots cast between 8 and 10 o'clock that there are some issues here that are above my pay grade to address. But the early vote here, I think for Crockett is 61%. She wants to be near 70 here, not near 60. And meanwhile, what we've seen happen statewide, again, we were saying this, while we sort of focus on Dallas for Crockett, we have been watching Tallarico in different corners of the state start to pad this plurality. So I think the last time I was on with you, he brought El Paso in. I'm not sure if you had seen, but Hidalgo County came in. We knew this was going to be big for Tallarico the way South Texas was going. This is where McAllen is, and it was big for Tallarico. Another giant one that we're waiting on that I think is going to be massive for Tallarico is Williamson County. This right outside Austin. Again, this is the heart of his political base. So you saw Crockett put a dent in it with Dallas's vote. We think that's more than half the vote out of Dallas County. It leaves Tallarico ahead by 70 with opportunities across this map to build on that 70. And that leaves whatever's left in Dallas. And again, there's a question here of what's left in Dallas. But whatever it is, it does not appear that there's enough there, to be putting a dent in this. She would need something from somewhere else to give her the extra. She would need a big flood of same-day support somewhere else. It's not just going to come from Dallas.
All right. Well, it could be a long night/few days as we continue to track that. Steve Kornacki, thank you.
I know you'll yell early and often if anything's interesting on that. I want to sneak in very quickly to the conversation, Ryan Nobles.
Well, that was the question I asked Steve before we heard from Jasmine Crockett. I mean, to me, it was all about the math, right? And listen, every vote should be counted. I think they should go through the legal process and figure it out. But I think we can practically say that there probably are not 75,000 people that voted in Dallas County in the last 2 hours that is an open question right now. And so I think the question for Jasmine Crockett now is the Democrats are heading toward a situation right now where every single Republican I've talked to tonight says that the Paxton-Cornyn race is going to a runoff. Every single Republican believes that. And so the Democrats are in a position where they could anoint their nominee tonight and hit the ground running. is Jasmine Crockett going to put the Democrats in a situation where, and she kind of alluded to this, to her credit, that, maybe there isn't the votes there, but the Democrats would love to have a unity rally tomorrow and kick off their campaign. If this is an open question and they're waiting for the legal challenges to kind of play out, that could delay that process.
And Ryan, I think you...
Okay. So the question he asked, and what's been put to Jasmine Crockett is whether or not she's going to put the Democrats in a position where they won't be able to anoint their Senate candidate and hit the ground running tomorrow. As we see an attorney general who's on the ballot challenge an extension of voting hours due to them initiating new procedure the day of voting, specifically impacting her home county. Because she apparently does not deserve for those votes to be counted, for that process to play out. She does not deserve the time to make sure that she, in fact, did not win the election, regardless of how the election was conducted. Which is fascinating because that's the same logic that I saw from a lot of leftists and pundits when Colin Allred clapped back at James Tallarico when he was called a mediocre black man. Why would you respond? Why would you take shots? Why would you go there? Apparently, he doesn't have the right to respond when somebody puts that out into the ether during an election cycle when he's on the ballot, which is funny because that's also the same logic, big picture, that we see with regards to Jasmine Crockett, and it comes to the work that she has done to oppose this regime and give voice to all manner of disenfranchised communities, not all of whom were black and not all of whom were in Texas. But when she decides that she wants to run for the Senate, given the fact that she was gerrymandered out of her seat because they decided to do mid-decade gerrymandering, mid-decade redistricting. Why would you go and muddy the waters for the Democrats when we have such a winnable seat? She doesn't have the right to that ambition, even though they took her seat away. And she's been one of the greatest voices that all manner of people from that side of the aisle have been championing when they were precious few that stood opposed to this administration. It's fascinating. It's fascinating that we would land at a place where Jasmine Crockett now has the responsibility to allow the Democrats to anoint their winner. So many different takeaways here. Not the least of which I saw quite often tonight, quite a number of people say, we're seeing a testing of the waters, and we are seeing things be thrown against the wall to see if they stick for later on this year when they conduct the midterms. Now, before I go on, let me actually make sure. Let me go to the chat to make sure that somebody isn't saying anything. Okay. I wanted to make sure because if I would have gave my response 5 minutes ago, I would have missed Jasmine's speech. So I want to make sure I'm not missing something like that. Okay. Doesn't look like it. Now, I did a members video about this. I did a members video about this a while back where I was a little bit more frank because it was fresh. But in my coverage of this particular race, I have had not nearly as much smoke for James Tallarico as I have had for all the things surrounding this particular race. Nasty work. And the reason why I haven't had nearly as much smoke for James Tallarico is because I've had nothing but positive things to say about James Tallarico before this race began, before this primary race began. I thought that he was somebody who I thought could have a pretty bright future in left-wing politics. And as somebody that tries to conduct themselves with a level of integrity, I'm not all of a sudden going to switch up because he's running against Jasmine Crockett. But unfortunately, the same can't be said for so many on this side of the aisle who rode on the back and the coattails of Jasmine Crockett and her magical voice and her ability to cut through and communicate a message. But all of a sudden, when she stands in the way of your chosen one, she doesn't have the right. So here's my question. What happens now? What happens now? Because the reality is that I can stomach James Tallarico as a Democratic nominee far better than I could stomach how Jasmine Crockett was treated. How Jasmine Crockett was treated is going to stay with me far longer. And what you have to contend with and what you decided to ignore is the fact that Black men and Black women have been the most consistent and steady voting bloc for Democrats for years. And apparently, it was worth whatever chances you think James Tallarico has to win the Senate seat in Texas. Whatever you think it is, 25%, 30%, 40%, doesn't matter. Whatever percentage chance you think James Tallarico has to win the Senate seat in Texas was worth showing that voting bloc your entire ass. Apparently that was worth it for you. Apparently, Democrats, well, not just Democrats, but, political parties, they do all the polling, they got all the numbers. Apparently, it was worth inflaming the most reliable voting bloc you have for a whatever percent chance of winning the Senate seat in Texas. See, that math doesn't math to me. But you're free to make your own decision. You could have ran this race. And let me also say this. I by no means think that Jasmine Crockett cannot be opposed. I don't think she's somehow owed the nomination or that she can't be in a primary against someone. You could oppose Jasmine Crockett all you want. It's how. when James Tallarico makes missteps, magically it's Jasmine Crockett's fault. If she calls out what she rightfully sees as a double standard, magically it's Jasmine Crockett's fault. There was nothing in this race that didn't go through the machinations of left-wing punditry that didn't land on her feet. And so many of us know exactly what that feels like. So many of us know that feeling well. It's just very different when it's happening over here. It's a whole different shade. See, we're used to that. That's the kind of stuff that Jasmine Crockett talks about all the time. And I'll be darned if that isn't exactly what we saw in the build-up to this election. So how does this go? Like, what's the next move? Because you're gonna have to turn around and communicate to the overwhelming numbers. Now, this is assuming that Tallarico ends up being a nominee, but if Tallarico ends up being a nominee, you will have to turn around and communicate to the overwhelming numbers of Black voters who turned out for Jasmine Crockett. What? Exactly will that message be? Because without that, whatever percentage chance that you thought you had for James Tallarico to win this race go down significantly. And another thing too, one of the justifications I saw for Tallarico's support in this race in general was that he had a better chance in the general. He had a better chance in the general. And that he had the ability to get Republicans that Jasmine Crockett couldn't. And you know what? I don't disagree with that. You know why? Because I sat right here in this room in November of 2024. That's why I don't disagree with that. Because if we want to talk about somebody in that race that clearly offered all the things that her opponent lacked, and if there wasn't a disqualifying, if there was a disqualifying factor, he had it. And still America found a way to put Donald Trump back into the White House. And because I've sat through that, if you want to tell me that a year and change later, we haven't changed that much, how could I possibly disagree with that? But you have to call a thing a thing. Call a thing a thing. And the treatment of Jasmine Crockett during the course of this primary does nothing but help that narrative of who is more electable in the general. Because you just showed us exactly how problematic outspoken Black women can be when they reach this proximity to power. You got to call a thing a thing. It was okay in the postscript, you know, when we were examining the election in 24, the 2024 presidential election, it was okay to call out racism and sexism then. But, you know, let me tell you, we're a whole year later and we're Democrats. We don't do that here. But let me tell you why this is Jasmine Crockett's fault. And as much as I'm disappointed, very, very disappointed to see so many different people, so many different groups conduct themselves the way they have during the course of this primary season. Information is information, right? It's disappointing when you find out something is not the case when you thought that it was. But that thing was what it was, whether you knew it or not. It's just that now you know. And knowing is half the battle. No, it's just that now you know. And knowing is never a bad thing. Now we can move forward with our eyes wide open. I would love to see a breakdown of the Latino vote with Jasmine Crockett. I would love to see that. I'm very curious about that because as somebody that has covered Jasmine Crockett quite a bit on this channel, I can't tell you the number of times that she has sat up in Congress and railed against ICE, railed against DHS, and railed against racial profiling of Latinos, railed against deportations and questioning due process. I can't tell you the number of times that I have used content of Jasmine Crockett specifically advocating for Latino Americans in Congress with power. But a narrative is a narrative, right? Ain't that right? Ain't that right, leftists? A narrative is a narrative, especially when you want to get your boy in. Especially when you want to get your boy in. And the wildest part of this particular race to me is you could have run it normally. Like, did you not think that James Talarico was a strong enough candidate that you had to engage in all of this? You could have run it normally. You know? I guess y'all know something I don't when it comes to James Talarico and his prospects. I guess we'll see what that is. All right, let me see what they're talking about before I head out.
For sure, we'll take a bump in that narrative if we are still waiting deep into Wednesday on the final results from Dallas. But at the end of the day, you guys are totally right that it really comes down to, on the Republican side, what Donald Trump decides to do. What's really remarkable, though, and we've seen this very few times, but even when Donald Trump has weighed in, he usually wins, but there are times when he hasn't. There has been more than $70 million spent thus far in this primary telling Texas voters that John Cornyn is the better candidate and Ken Paxton is a terrible candidate. And that $70 million has only gotten Cornyn to 34%. So at the end of the day, will a Donald Trump endorsement be enough?
Go ahead, Amy.
Technically, it has been. But even then, you've got a lot of skeptical Republicans.
We're taking a look at some of those ad spending numbers that you talked about on both sides of the primary aisle here on Democrats and Republicans.
Oh, no, wait. I thought Jasmine Crockett was the big money candidate. crazy. You know, they told me now, because I was on leftist YouTube. They told me Jasmine Crockett was the big money candidate taking in all the money from outside. Wow. Wow. It's really the more you know, isn't it? It really is the more you know. Narratives be crazy, though. Let me tell you that. Narratives be crazy.
It's just a staggering amount of money. And it brings up this question about resources, right? If you've got tons and tons and tons of millions and millions of dollars getting poured in here, you've got this runoff, you've got competitive races in House and Senate races throughout the country as we head into the rest of primary season over the next few months. The balance, right? When you start to think about where the resources are going, where the energy, where the candidly like the earned media attention is going too. I mean, all of this starts to play a factor.
That's exactly right. And there will be, so Trump is the number one factor, absolutely, on the Republican side. The second factor, if Trump either takes a pass or he's taking his time to come up with an answer, is how much more money will that sort of status quo Republican establishment, et cetera, put into a runoff campaign? And I come up next with, if it does not come to that same number as we're seeing right now, and the benefit of Cornyn, not as much money spent, say, in the runoff as we've seen in the primary, what's going to happen post-May? If Paxton is the nominee and he is now going to be the one trying to raise that kind of money, where is that coming from, and where will donors be? There's obviously going to be a tremendous amount of pressure from national Republicans.
I'm sorry to interrupt you here. Sorry to pause you. Senator Cornyn speaking now. We want to listen in live just briefly.
I want to start by thanking my family, without whose support and love I could not do what I get an opportunity to do, representing 32 million Texans in the United States Senate. I want to thank everybody who voted for me, and the way I view it, it's an indication of their trust in the service that I provided to this great state for many years now.
You know why I'm trying to hear that. I did. There was one other thing that had occurred to me. So let me get this straight. So the left wing decided to kneecap Jasmine Crockett because they thought James Tallarico was the better candidate in the general. Yet, the nefariousness on the Republican side affected Jasmine Crockett's base. And now we see Ken Paxton pushing to get the Supreme Court to throw out votes from Dallas County during those extended hours. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because the thought process with the Stephen Colbert situation, right, was that the administration was somehow trying to help Crockett. That was a thought process that came from the left. They were trying to help Crockett because they know that James Tallarico was the better. They don't want James Tallarico. The administration is doing all this because they don't want James Tallarico. That was the leftist thought process, right? They didn't want James Tallarico, so the administration is getting in the way because they want to help Jasmine Crockett. So how can you reconcile that with what's being done right now? That's not working for me. That's not working for me. That's not working for me. Because it feels to me like if they see that James Tallarico is ahead, they would do anything possible to try and get Jasmine Crockett over the top. If that's the one that they really, that's the one that they really want. That's the one that they really want, because Donald Trump makes a habit out of disparaging people that he knows he doesn't have to worry about and is not concerned about whatsoever. He finds the most inconsequential people And that's who he just stay talking about. The most inconsequential people whatsoever. So if I got you straight, they are challenging Jasmine Crockett's lifeline in order to win this Senate seat nomination. Seems to me like they want James. Now, if your thought is that he was the most electable, y'all must have a difference of opinion. It seemed like y'all that's not what Ken Paxton thinks. That ain't what Ken Paxton thinks. Now, Ken Paxton thinks some crazy stuff. That's why, that's why he got a divorce on biblical grounds. He don't make the most sound decisions, okay? He don't make the most sound decisions. But I don't necessarily think that Ken Paxton is out here moving on his own. Ken Paxton definitely not out here moving on his own, okay? We know that Donald Trump got his hand in his trousers, along with probably some other hands in his trousers too, apparently, what his wife said. It'd be hands in his trousers. But we know that Ken Paxton is moving as the Republican establishment is moving. And to let them tell it, they apparently want James. So, we gonna see. We gonna see. I hope y'all were right.
Been bruising. This is going to shape up to be a bruising battle with Donald Trump's endorsement at stake.
Right. And it's clear he was sending a message, not just to voters in Texas, you all, but obviously to the president of the United States with those remarks, which is to say, Mr. President, you've got 2.5 years left in your term. You want somebody like me. Not only do you want somebody like me in the United States Senate and not Ken Paxton, but there is a chance that if it is Ken Paxton on the ballot, Republicans will not be in the majority in the United States Senate. You don't want to take that risk.
Amy, thank you so much for being with us. We have 18 million things to talk to you about, so I know you're coming back in the primaries to come. We appreciate you. Thank you. We're going to sneak in a super quick break, but much more to come. We've got a couple more calls, some other things to talk about. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a jiff.
All right. I'm going to let you guys get out of here because I appreciate all of the mods that have been here since the very beginning. Shout out to y'all. Make sure I pick up anything that I missed. I appreciate you, Kilgore. I appreciate you. Black people need to vote interest, not party. It's getting there. It's definitely getting there. Not as getting there. That's yes, I agree. Black people delineate and dedicate to ourselves. Facts, Reese is definitely confirmed now. Cook, thank you, Todd. I appreciate that. I wouldn't be able to tolerate these talking heads without you to say what needs to be said out loud. That's what Jasmine Crockett did. That's what she's been doing for the last year. Black people vote independent and make them earn it. As a Republican, even I recognize JC was sabotaged by her own party. You may not agree, but loyalty to Dems isn't paying off. Voting Republican would send a message in a way staying home won't. Ain't nobody talking about voting Republican. Ain't nobody. You hear them sirens? Yeah. Wow, Cook Reese, but you can't tell Goofy's anything. Thank you, Todd. I appreciate that. Thank you, Todd. I wonder where that 25 million came from. Because the narrative with Jasmine is, Jasmine is the big money. He takes a big money donor, and James Tallarico, he only take donations in fives. That's the highest you can give him is a $5. He really prefer ones. He really prefer $1 bills, but he will take a $5 on occasion. That's what they said. They said Jasmine was taking all the big. Yeah. Yep. DBE, welcome. Welcome, DBE. I'm glad you're here. Tallarico isn't the better candidate. He's going to get dog walked. Everyone on the right knows this. Apparently, from how they moving, apparently they want James. They call James. They like when you on the blacktop and you get to pick your opponent. You get the first pick. They pick James. You know, they pick James. Thank you, LaKay. Thank you, LaKay. I appreciate you for being here. All right. On that note, shout out to Miss Ray. And yes, definitely follow the People's Get Up on IG for merch drops. Also, the peoplesgetup.com, where you get all the Let 'em Fight gear, you know, all the Let 'em Fight stuff. And to that end, right? I definitely don't want to give Republicans the joy that I have felt I definitely don't want to give Republicans the joy that I feel when I yell, "Let them fight, let them get it out their system." I don't want them to have that level of joy. But what you're not going to do is spit in my face and tell me it's raining. You know, we seen all the moves on the timeline in 4K. Like we saw it. Yeah. To maybe win the Senate seat in Texas. It's crazy math. It is crazy. It's crazy math. It is. Any of the other mods still here? I know back in the beginning times we had a handful. Lovely Nola was here. I think Peachy Keen was here. Shout out to y'all. But thank you, Ms. Ray, for doing the running the gauntlet. If you didn't get a chance to jump to MS Now, what's on MS Now? Westmore 2028. You can't have him. You can't have him. You can't have him. He's ours. Westmore is ours. Yeah, I would be curious to see. They definitely made reference to the Latino vote. They definitely made reference to the Latino vote. I just would like to see the actual numbers. Like I would like to see before I can talk on it. But that clearly was the thing. That clearly was the thing. They were talking about it all day. But I would like to see what the numbers actually look like in the postscript to this, you know, before I get too much steam, you know. But yeah, I like to have some integrity about this, you know. I try. I see you, lovely Nola. All right. If you guys didn't get a chance to watch my my FAFO video about the USA hockey team today, I had a ton of fun doing that one. Check that out. I'm gonna record some stuff. When I end this, I'm gonna record some stuff, and then I'm gonna pull pieces from the live and put it in a pot. Throw some Lowrys in that thing. I'm on a video response to the election, the primary election night early tomorrow. I don't know if that's going to premiere or not. That one just might be waiting for you in the morning. So just stay tuned on that one. But it will be there will be a premiere later on in the day. So just be on the lookout for that. All right, let me do a last check before I bounce and see what they got going on.
In there too, and you had Aaron Rice, the Pats Paxton-backed candidate who was also in the race, who is not advancing to the runoff, former DOJ official. Congressman Cruz, former Cruz guy, backed by the senator, and then Mays Middleton, state senator, with some conservative backing there, too.
Yeah, this is another where you've got a MAGA candidate here,
Yeah.
Mays Middleton, and Chip Roy, who, Ryan knows this well, too, has been a thorn in the side of Republican leadership going back for as long as he's been there. He was Ted Cruz's chief of staff, I think. Is that right? Before he was in that role. Another reminder that people just don't like the House, even when you're in the majority. Chip Roy got himself on the Rules Committee thinking it would give him more power, and it ultimately just meant he had to travel back to D.C. longer, running for the Texas Attorney General's office now, which is a pretty powerful post in Texas and can shape a lot of policy, as we've seen Ken Paxton do.
Yeah.
But those numbers, yikes, that is not a position you want to be in as a sitting member of Congress.
Well, and talk about a surprise.
Chip Roy
and
losing?
incumbents. Let's talk about Dan Crenshaw.
Yes.
We're watching this race very.
That might be something he might be compelled to get involved.
As we're talking about big spending, can we talk about the second most expensive race in the state of Texas, which is the race for the Attorney General's seat with Ken Paxton
Chip Roy
here running
getting his
in the
ass
Senate
busted.
primary, obviously. I'm going to ask our team with the control room if they can to pull up this board. I'm curious where
Chip
this
Roy
stands.
getting his
This
ass
matters,
busted.
obviously not for congressional stakes, but I think for sort of
Go to
state
the-
of
go to
play,
the
where
numbers,
things go
lady.
in Texas here with. Look at this. Interesting. Advancing to a
they got a
runoff.
runoff.
Okay, Chip Roy.
runoff.
Yeah, this is super interesting. And Mays Middleton there, too. And you had Aaron Wrights, the Paxton-backed candidate who was also in the race, who is not advancing to the runoff, former DOJ official. Congressman Cruz, former Cruz guy, backed by the senator. And then Mays Middleton, state senator, with some conservative backing there, too.
Yeah, this is another where you've got a MAGA candidate here, Mays Middleton, and Chip Roy.
Republican, but it took Toth's legislative district and plowed it into the congressional district to the point where
Chip the business. Mays giving Chip the business. He don't want it with Mays. He don't want it with Mays. Who said man down? Man down. He don't want it with Mays. He don't want it with Mays. I have such a juvenile sense of humor. I have my wife has made me vow not to pass along my love of poop and fart jokes to the kids. Because once they find out, that's over. That's all they're going to do. All right. Without further ado, shout out to all the mods. Shout out to Regina. I saw Regina in the chat as well. Thank you all for rocking with me. Thank you to everybody who sent all the supers, all the new members, everybody like that. Be on the lookout for a reaction video in the morning and premiere at night. Much love. I appreciate y'all being here. I also have a new video ending that I need to put together, so be on the lookout for that too. It's probably not going to be dropped tomorrow, but just be on the lookout for that. And obviously, let them fight. We letting them fight for March. We letting them fight for March. So y'all got that to look forward to. All right. I know y'all might hear some nonsense about me and how I conduct myself. Me out here running the streets with Ken Paxton and stuff like that. You might hear a lot of people say various things. Just keep in mind, I have daughters.